Hello everyone, we're back again for the 2022 Amazon University Esports Masters. It's Saturday, it's groups A and B playing, powered by, of course, our partners Intel and Twitch Student. Do check them out. I'm Takua, joined by Melvin Izzle, and I'm very excited for what we've got coming up.
Oh yes, I really enjoyed getting to see how this tournament has developed so far, and we'll keep it brief for this moment here, but we'll talk about more about the whole tournament as everything we are going to get coming for you.
Absolutely that. And first off, open it up with the prize pool. Why not? We have a lot on offer for us, of course, provided to us by our sponsors. €15,500 total, and then 5,000 of that going to first place, so on and so forth per every team playing in the top 8.
And that is a damn good prize pool for a student. It's a damn good prize pool overall.
Yeah.
But it definitely helps a lot more when you're trying to get off of those, like rice and pot noodle meals every day. That was always my favorite one, of going to the shop and coming back with a 6-pack for, what, £2 or so? And that was great.
Classic.
Lunch for the week. Lot line and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're playing for here, right here at UEM. Of course, there is also the level of experience. This is a high level of tournament play that a lot of people will be playing in. But we're also going to have a quick look at the roadmap, what's coming up in the next few weeks, and exactly what the formats are going on. So there will be a little bit of a break after this weekend, 2nd and 3rd of April, as the last chance qualifiers are coming up in the 14th and 15th of May.
So I know that you guys are going to have a little bit of time in there just after tomorrow, where you won't be seeing too much League until May, but we've got plenty of other games to come for UEM, so keep your eyes peeled on the stream, on the Twitter, to get your updates for that. And as you'll see, by the end of today and tomorrow, we will have all 4 of our main groups concluded. We'll know which teams are jumping straight up into the playoffs, first place from each group, and which ones will be competing in that last chance qualifier, second place from each group. And then we'll have to find out, A, who's going to be doing it, and B, if anybody could challenge Kit.
That is a very good question, because so far we have absolutely not seen that is the case. Kit right now are the any percent speedrun kings of the tournament, with a ridiculous average time of what I believe is 22 minutes, roughly 22 minutes and a second.
Yeah, we got to see, I believe it was 3 of those wins on stream. Absolutely brutal. Let's take a look at the team that has done it all. And in the top lane, we've got Gentleman here, an absolute monster on the carries. Jungle Striker, they've got their abstract champions. We saw not only a Mundo game from them, but also a Shyvana last week. So, you know, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, last week we had them on. And then for the rest of how this team kind of plays, it is a lot of focus around that top side, with Redeem acting as a second carry, and then Matthew being the weak side king, recent addition to the squad for this year. Kit, they are definitely a team that we need to keep our eyes out for. What have they actually done so far? Go on, give everybody the spiel. We need to make sure everybody who's joining for the first time knows.
Well, Kit are a stat stick if you've ever seen one. And, well, first off, we already know they're undefeated in their 4-0 in the first week. Really fast game times in general. But something else is that Striker has the highest KDA in the entire tournament, with 16.33.
Yeah, in the jungle, that's impressive, considering you are typically on champions, and we saw them on champions like the Mundo, like the Shyvana, that goes in and usually ends up dying in most team fights. But no, they were absolutely dominant. We'll go through a bit of how their games went in a moment, but first of all, let's talk about who they're playing against.
Well, that would be Uteru Pessigod, the Italian seed, made up of Buddy, Nebula, Mazu, Piscolo, and Cookie in the bot side. And they're a lot newer than Kit. They don't have the experience that Kit might do. And last time, we definitely saw their trial by fire. It was a quick game by Kit, if I'm not mistaken. It was their quickest.
Yeah.
And that's not surprising.
And you know what? When you're playing your first game of the tournament against the reigning champions, to be fair, the 2-time reigning champions, we'll go more about Kit later, but this is not only a trial by fire, but it is trial by fire part 2 for this poor sweet team.
And that just leads us into the question of, what does it actually take? What do Utero actually need to do to defeat Kit? Because that is really the question at hand we have for the game 1.
And this team is currently 1-3 in the standings. Same as 2 other teams in their group, it is just Kit standing up there with Braves below them. 3-1. And for this team in particular, the one game we saw they were able to win wasn't on stream, but we did get to find out that it was a lot of playing around the jungle and transitioning that power with mid lane to win off of that.
Yeah, we've seen Nebula have this ridiculous kill participation, one of the highest in the tournament, in fact, around about 75%. So you know that, well, if your jungler's within 75% of your team's kills, then he's a pretty central element to your team actually succeeding.
And it makes a lot of sense why we didn't really get to see this team put up a fight against Kit, because in their last matchup, it was pretty much over at level 3, because what we had happen was really nice mid lane fighting. They were going for an aggressive play with Nebula, and then Striker shows up on the Mundo. They don't manage to finish off the kill onto the mid lane. Redeemed strolls away for Kit, and then suddenly it's 2 deaths. Victor hyper-fed on the Kit squad, Striker already super accelerated on their signature Mundo, and then it just got worse and worse and worse.
But what is worth saying is that before that point, it really wasn't looking that bad. Yes, it's very early on in the game, but that gank initially looked very good, and you have to think that if Pesigod just committed a little bit more, had that confidence, of course it's the first game on stage, so it's not necessarily going to be, the nerves are going to be there, right? But a little bit more commit, and I feel like that play could have gone even, or even possibly in Pesigod's favour.
There was definitely whole seconds of that where I was just holding on like, oh my god, they've got it. They've actually got to get the early game lead against Kit, but we'll have to see. Hopefully that's not the immediate game state that we get replicated, because the thing is, we got to see Kit 3 times on stream, and they won very quickly in all of them, but they won in different ways in each of them. And when I say in different ways, there was a very central figure, particularly on that top side, that we saw really did define the entirety of this group.
Yeah, his name's Gentleman Hero, and please ban his Fiora, because you will suffer otherwise.
Yeah, well, you've got a little prompt for the draft right there, and just for everybody at home to try and help figure it out, to do versus Kit SC White, make sure that you remember this one. As remember everybody, I'm going to hold it up again in the draft, and we'll see if it comes through, because it didn't. For some reason, after the first game, it still didn't happen, and then throughout the entirety of Group B, we were kind of defining signature picks. This was the Fiora group.
Yep, that was it. I mean, we had multiple Fiora players within the bracket, but Gentleman Hero, the only one to really pilot it to
perfection.
More than just success. Yeah, perfection is, I think, the only word that you can really use to describe that, because it was disgusting what he was able to do.
But the thing is, in the one game we saw that they weren't on the Fiora, they were against Okanya's Poppy, and it was actually kind of competitive. They were playing Gwen at the time, so, you know, still carry champions.
Yeah.
This team is defined by playing around their top side. And what we saw was it was a bit more even. There wasn't as much attention directly to the top, and Okanya did manage to get the better end of some trades, even a solo kill at some point. So what we need to see, first of all, as you got from the prompt, and Fiora, but then secondly, we need to see if Yutaru can get their own style going. The thing is, Kit very appropriately banned away their 3 signature champions the last time this team matched up against them, getting rid of, I believe it was the Zillion, the Viego, and the Tristana, the 3 engine pieces that this squad were looking to use coming into the tournament.
One thing is worth talking about as far as Pesigod goes is that their one win was the last game of the day. If anything, that tells me that they've been sort of building up progressively. And that win was actually really striking when Nebula was massive that game, going 7-1. And this kind of just snowballed the mid lane completely. Yes, he was just on an Orianna, Mazu was just playing a control mage in the mid lane, but between the Volibear being able to deliver a ball with a little bit of move speed and just perma-ganking mid lane, they managed to pull through with a relatively dominant win.
So there are avenues for Kit to drop their first game, and we need to figure out in the draft phase what's actually going to happen, and more importantly, if it's going to matter, because that is always the issue when you have such a good and dominant team as Kit. Of even when the game looks even for far too long, suddenly they could just turn it on its head, grab a dragon, grab a Rift Herald, break open 3 turrets, and then the game's looking doomed. There was definitely, I'm trying to remember which one of their games it was. It looked even until about 13 minutes or so, and then it was still a 20-minute victory. And it's just like, this team really does blow my mind of how well they can transition even the minutest just misplay from the enemy team into almost an instant victory.
Yeah, I mean, I think a common phrase used to describe these sorts of teams is when you give them inch, you give them a mile. And there is no better way to describe the way that kit has been winning games. So it is simply put that you can't give them any sort of opening for them to potentially come back into the game or potentially get a lead, because they will do it and they will snowball the game.
And the thing is, Kit, considering their dominance in the first week, after one win, if they win this first game, they effectively lock getting last chance qualifier at minimum. If they get 2 wins, they are guaranteed it, because only one other team could rival their, at that point, 6-0 record. So this team only needs to show a little bit on stream, and honestly, I don't think they'll be showing too much new stuff. They're going to have plenty of time, as you saw from our little break, that they're going to have to do their full research on how all the other teams are playing, because they read basically every team that they faced like a book. It was only really Braves that put up a fight against them, and I'm just hoping that all the other teams have now had their time to study, because the thing is, when you have a good period of time, 2 weeks is decent, to actually get to look into your opponents, and having seen the footage, Kit was the most streamed game for our days at least, so we'll get to see, and that means that we should, in theory, have teams being able to formulate some kind of strategy to take them down.
We're just going to take a look at some of the replays from last week to see exactly what went down, and here we go.
Okie dokie, I'm trying to recount what this one was. Okay, so we've got some of the Group C and D games. Absolute domination of the band. I don't know why I'm doing the play-by-play bit, but I'm just enjoying reacting to it, because we got to see some other teams actually put up competition that looked to rival Kit. The only issue was that in the 2 days we had, it was 4-0 for our top places, but as more teams in the groups for the other ones, it was only 4-1, so no team has shown that true dominance yet. We did get to see some very impressive team fighting across the board, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's exactly that. I mean, AGH and AIX here was the top 2 seeds of Group D, respectively. Battling it out there. That one.
Oh,
Then we have Power Red Dragons versus ETT.
What a hook. Absolute beauty. Just instantly ending a fight. Thing about that Blitzcrank is it doesn't matter how good you are as a team, if it gets to one hook on a key member, then suddenly the entire game just flips on its head.
Yeah, and that's it. Here's the Jin ultimate opening up, and this was just a beautiful combination. Doesn't quite have enough damage to actually push any further into the fight, but as you can see here, Bao eventually go down.
And for everybody, obviously we've got our Group A and B games today, but tomorrow you'll be joined by the beauties of Kachka and Black Bloxer, bringing you the Group C and D games, and you'll get to see these teams that you've got right now on your screens getting to compete for those other spots, because remember, there are a lot of competitive rosters going into this one. Kit, while we talk about them the most, because in fairness they've earned it with the amount of dominance they have shown, there are other teams that are coming to take them down, and hopefully this will not be a repeat of their perfect run.
Yeah, there's definitely some looking very dominant, but we'll save that for later. Right now, it's still got this Kit Pessigod game on the horizon today in the upcoming few minutes or so, I would imagine, before we get to that one. But in general, I would say that the tournament level, the level of play at UEM 2022 has been relatively strong.
Yeah, it definitely has been. I've been impressed across the board with a lot of these teams and their resilience. And the thing is, I say I've been impressed, but in reality, it should be the expectation, because these are all teams that won their respective leagues back in their own regions and whatnot. So it makes a lot of sense that they all look very competitive against each other, and no team really just rolls over and lose. So, thing to remind you all before we do end up going over to draft, we are playing on Tournament Realm, and we are on patch 12.5 without the B patch.
Yeah, and that means that those little ADC tweaks that you currently have on Live, although Live is a patch ahead by now, in regards to the Ashe, the Lucian, and then toning down with Aphelios Jinx. No, that's not happening, so it is probably Aphelios Jinx. And that is seen because Jinx has currently got a 90% pick ban presence across the tournament.
Disgusting. Alright then. Well, now we get to start seeing what we actually have prepared for our very first game of the day. I've got the draft that these two teams played against each other up on the other monitor, so when I glance over there, that'll be me coming back to say, oh, that's different. And the first thing that's different, they solved it, guys! They did it!
There it is, the puzzle!
It's Fiora! That's what it was. It's not been Fiora, it's Bannet. Absolutely
Although,
brilliant.
although Binfiora is a monster, so if you didn't
Well, I
watch
was
these
gonna have that as like
121
an alternate
files,
hint.
but... and there
Not
it
for this
is.
one though.
Once again, the Viego and the Zillion getting knocked out. Pessigod not being able to play those two pocket picks.
I'm expecting this last one to probably be the Tristana again. It is by far the most dominant pick for Piscolo, so you do not want to be letting that ADC get away with it. We did see Sora pilot the Tristana mid in our games to absolute dominance. That is just a pick where if it gets rolling, it can turn the game on its head. And the thing is, based on how Kit want to play, with leaving Matthew as weak side in the bottom lane, things like the Ashe, things like the Ezreal, would make a lot of sense to remove it, but instead, they actually get rid of the Zeri. That is an interesting alternate, because I would say they played very well into it last time around with that Ashe lane into Piscolo's Zeri, so I'm very curious to see why they are so confident to leave that Trist open.
Yeah, well, I think maybe they have some secret tech answers to Tristana, or are just simply confident enough that they'll be able to beat it out, despite giving it to them, because... I mean, if you do look at Pessygod's wins, they haven't exactly been through bot. I think Kit aren't maybe too concerned giving them a comfort pick, but then that questions why you're banning out the Zeri in the first place. But we will see what the priority ends up being, as there's still 7 seconds left on the first pick.
Both Aphelios and Jinx are open. That was the one pivot that we actually see from Yutaru's draft last time around. They banned the Jinx in the first rotation instead of the Kindred, but this time leaving it open. Well, you have your Tristana option, and you still have Aphelios who is on the table, so I'm very curious to see what the first rotation priority is. Thresh, obviously something that we could see paired with all of the above ADCs that we just went through listing off one by one. Or we might just see some alternate priority. Tell me about the Karma.
Well, if there is anything that we talk about presence, Karma is the second highest pick ban presence in the entire tournament, and is the most picked champion in the entire tournament. So for some reason, at UEM 22, the two champions you should be watching out for are Jinx and Karma.
Guess what? We get them as literally the first picks for both of these teams, so what an excellent demonstration. The thing is, you have to remember at the home audience is that Hecarim is not nerfed yet. They are still fine. Rengar hasn't been reworked. You don't have anything to hide from, as we do have now Nebula on a very scary pick, and that flexible Karma is something that we might get to see going in alternate roles. We'll have to find out, as Striker is going to run it back on the Shyvana as opposed to the Mundo this time around.
Yeah, exactly that. Sometimes Buddy has been put on the weak side duty as far as Pessigod goes, with the Mordekaiser in one time just against the Gragas, just to kind of sit there, and then the Ornn again, just to sit there and leave the scale. So that could end up going to the top side. As we see the Gwen coming back through for Gentleman Hero and one of those carry champions. Didn't look quite as good as the Fiora, but we'll see how it goes this game.
The Fiora looked damn good though, so it's, you know, it's a high ceiling that you're like, okay, but you're only halfway up there, come on now. But now, question is, do you counterpick top lane here? Because you'd imagine that's a Shyvana jungler, the Gwen top, everything is very easy to read. As we do get an Ashe Karma bot lane, presumably, I'm crossing my fingers because obviously that Karma, we had it specifically last time around, get flexed all over the place and really throw off the enemy team. So it is something that's a really strong one on red side, because as long as you lock in a mid laner here, then that Karma could go into either of the side lanes and really just distorts the draft, because it means that now, whichever Kit decide to start banning out, you have a pick that can go fill in that role and you don't feel remotely as bad about it.
I would really like to see Kit trying to target the mid lane a little bit and have the read that this Karma is going top or support, because in Pessygod's one win, it was Mazu and Nebula being the driving force behind the team. It was the mid jungle that led to their success, and that's what they tried to do against Kit the first game. It's just that they failed to do so.
And the thing is, that Zillion ban that you see right there in the bottom of the screen is a ban against Mazu, so you need to consider that this could even be the Karma going mid lane. So in reality, whatever you get rid of here from Kit, it gets just taxed, because Karma can go there and fill in the void. If you ban out two mids, it's fine. We can play Karma Hecarim, that's completely okay, as long as we don't give it away, which they can avoid in every way, shape, and form. Then I think that right now, Yutaru are favoured in this draft, but obviously, draft is only half the game. You need to be able to execute on that, and that will be the part that we are going to be crossing our fingers for, because right now, one thing I will say about Kit, heavy scalers, not that much early priority anywhere on the board just yet.
Yeah, and there was, of course, the one time where they did play a very similar comp, not too much early priority, yet still managed to gain early priority. So, as you mentioned with the execution, I think that is very much the name of the game when it comes to this team. But The Yone ending up being locked in. That is a carry champion in the mid lane, but not necessarily the one I was expecting.
Could always make its way up to top theoretically. It's something that we do see here and there, but definitely agree that usually finds its way, or at least it's more success in the mid lane historically. Gonna have to find out what exactly Kit want to answer that with. If it is into the Gwen, makes a lot of sense because you can run forward, chase into her, get up in that missed range and still get to trade with them, and then ping right back. Since Gwen very rarely takes flash in the top lane, it's going to be annoying for her to actually ever close that distance to come back and trade onto the Yone. So I will assume it's up there for the moment, as now we get a Leona slapped down. Gives them some semblance of early playmaking. I like that quite a bit. Gonna hesitate. It is actually gonna be the Lucian mid. Okay, another thing that gives them that driving force in the early. Kit recognizing if we go too passive in this draft, there is always the option that regardless of how good we are, we just get outstatted by potential early game champions like the Renekton, who we didn't actually see in this pick, and I believe this will be the first time on our stream games for this group that we didn't see the Renekton as well.
I believe it was actually Group A though, because this was
okay.
This was
Never mind. But
game.
we saw some Renekton priority. It definitely bodied one pick. I remember that one.
But it is worth saying that in Group A it was a pick ban champion, so we'll come to that later. Renekton overall has a 75% win rate across those 4 games that it has been picked in, but it's a very small sample size, so it is what it is.
That's a Brom, which means it will actually be the Karma pivoted over to mid. And now, if we take a look across the board, which of these lanes do you want to start talking about first? Because we have got a lot of isolated plays to talk about before we get over into the whole team comps.
Well, if there's anything when it comes to both of these teams, that would be the jungle matchup, because both Striker and Nebula are very pivotal players for their teams.
Well, I'm seeing that currently Striker has the Ghost. They can obviously change that before they get into game, but I don't think they will, because both of these junglers are going to be almost identical in style, where they just want to power farm until 6, continue power farming, and then gank whenever their ultimate is available. The thing is, Nebula on this Hecarim does have a lot better ganks pre-6, but what we did see from Shyvana actually twice last time around was if a skirmish is brought to them, she does good damage.
Yeah, absolutely. She has the tools to be able to do that, especially with that ultimate, the Unstoppable, and the dash in providing CC and large amounts of damage. I mean, the Bruiser build there that Striker went last time was just nigh on unstoppable. When it came to a point in the game, you just couldn't kill him, nor could you really stop him from doing the damage that he wanted to do. So that is part of the power of the Shyvana in those little skirmishes, is just being able to go in and do the damage, be a frontline if you're going that build, or if you do decide to opt for the AP build, just to nuke somebody out the game.
And the thing is, one of the reasons that we saw this matchup be pretty much over so quickly into the game is because Striker is extremely intelligent with their pathing. We had them come match off that level 3 fight in the first time these teams faced off that really swung it over in Kit's favour. But then shortly after that, there was a situation up in the top lane where Buddy was trying to crash a wave in, so they had Nebula come up to help them. But Striker, almost on cue, comes around the corner as they're both as extended as possible, just trying to get that wave under, and then it's just a double kill over to a Fiora. This time around, obviously not that same pick, but I'm expecting to see the same level of intelligent pathing to keep their laners safe and enable these scaling picks like the Gwen, like the Jinx.
Yeah, and that's it. It's really to be watching out about these two, because we'll bring it back to the other side and talk about Nebula once again. But yes, we have talked about Nebula a lot, but this jungle matchup is pretty much the deciding factor between how this matchup is going to go. And Nebula, he's on a Hecarim, relatively fast clear, good ganks. We would like to see Nebula be able to use that power. What lane specifically?
Well, as far as which lanes, I expect them to be ganking a lot, as we are hopping into game now. Bot lane. I want to use bot lane because that is where you have good gank setup. When you have an Ashe, when you have a Brom, it really doesn't get easier than that. Post 6 top lane's very good, as we do get an extremely aggressive soft invade attempt is what I'll call that. They don't end up committing to anything, but they are spotted out.
Yeah, the ward comes through. No more than that, but Striker is on the top side.
So as far as trying to snowball early leads, I'm expecting this to be Nebula starting on the top side and potentially looking for a level 3 play on the bottom, because to bring it down to the bot lane for a moment, you did get that Braum last pick, which is extremely good into the Leona, because whenever she jumps in, Braum will outstat her with the stuns, and just being able to eat up the damage from the enemy ADC with that Unbreakable. So, in theory, this bot lane should be going in Piscolo and Cyrus's favour. We'll have to see. This is actually Cyrus subbing in for Cookie this time around, one of their substitute players, so we'll have to see how that ends up playing out in practice.
There we go. Apparently the Cookie's PC has not survived, so I have to bring in the sub today. Bit of a shame, maybe it doesn't necessarily have the synergy that Pesky God might have, especially for this matchup, but we'll see how it goes. Make do what you have currently. And Pescalo serious, because they don't actually have the leash, they have the advantage early on.
And this is always what you want to see when you have the winning matchup, is you want to be able to let the laners go straight there and just get control over this minion wave, because you can see now, this is Matthew getting completely zoned off of the minions. If they can ever get them pushed off enough that they lose XP, then this lane is effectively over until there's jungle intervention.
Matthew just taking so much damage right now, really not allowed. I'm not actually sure if he was zoned off the XP from one of the minions that did die earlier, but that is definitely a possibility. And they're definitely going to have to just pretty much take a beating for the time being before somebody can come and maybe relieve pressure. But I would like to see Nebula, because he has opted for the top side, he will path into bot side naturally, so maybe try and make a play down there in due course.
Ooh, this is interesting from Nebula, going for a level 3 gank to start it off. Redeemed very likely to dash forward here and trade onto Mazu, so I like this confidence. But it does slow down their pathing by going for this. It's a risky play. It's not something that's guaranteed, because the thing is, Karma lacks that gank setup, and it's extremely well played from Redeemed, knowing that Hecarim can level 3 gank with Ghost, and while it isn't common, it is something that you do need to be wary of, so they're not going to drop the pressure. You could just see the veterancy of this team coming online in the first few minutes.
Well, it is worth saying that Redeem's wave state is not necessarily in the best place. He's not going to have a very good time pushing into Mazu right now to be able to get a crash, so Mazu is going to be able to farm relatively peacefully under his side of the lane.
So what I'd really like to see right here from the bottom lane of Utura is shoving in this bot minions and then getting it to bounce back into you for when Nebula is going to be down here. Because the thing is, obviously the Hecarim is a bit slower than expected because they looked for that mid lane play. Nothing wrong with that, but it does mean that you want the wave to bounce back, come into your own tower, and then Hecarim can get a gank behind them. Because at that point, Cat IRL and Matthew are crying. There's nothing for them to do. Speaking of, Striker basically demonstrating what I was saying perfectly, but on the other side of the map. The thing is, Shyvana doesn't really have that same gank ability.
Yeah, I think Buddy has the read on. I'm not sure if he did catch him in the vision for the time that Striker did just quickly pop his head out, but managed to get a read on that one, and nothing will come from it.
Ooh, nice ward. I don't think it sees Nebula in the river, but it is actually going to be immediately swept out by Cyrus. Nicely done. I like that a lot. Is going to continue to keep Kit in the dark as we get an expected, but I'm going to say a welcome, slow early game.
And in some senses, this is kind of what YPG want, but also it's kind of fine for Kit at the same time, because they don't necessarily have as much aggression as some of the comps that they might have drafted. Gentleman Hero right now, really giving the respect to Buddy here, and the potential gank from Nebula, and will stay safe.
Really like this early item pickup from Nebula, going straight into the Ionian boots. Makes a lot of sense. You are the Hecarim, obviously you scale with speed and damage, so you like that, but also whenever you get the early Ionian boots on your first base as a jungler, it means you get to smite just that little bit more often, which will actually accelerate you to your damage smite, in this case the blue one, faster than your opposition, which makes you somewhat better for that combat around level 6, which is when both of these junglers are really looking to first make their impact on the map.
Yeah, especially that, and potentially an early trade contest. It is the Infernal of this game, which is a relatively nice standalone break to have in your back pocket. But it does depend. It isn't a Cloud first, so it isn't something you want to get online as quickly as possible, because the potential of a Cloud Soul is possible, but Nebula will be in the mid lane, and in the end, Redeem's just going to have to flash out.
Go trade summoners. Another benefit of the Ionian boots, you'll get that ghost back up much quicker than you would the enemy flash, but now Redeemed is level 6. On this Lucian, the culling unlocked. Something I will say, though, is that Striker has snuck their way into the dragon And it is an extremely important objective for this Shyvana, because every time she does secure one of those, she will get a little bit tankier, which is really important for this Bruiser build, and completely sneaking this one away before Nebula had any chance to contest.
Yeah, and that was in part due to the mid gank. Will take a few little hits on the Striker. See if he can actually get the kill here. Dashing forward another time, but the burnout will get Striker to safety. Not too bad.
Having to use their own ghost, but I'm going to call a big worth on that one, as we do have now Nebula walking over a ward, not realizing it's in that bush, getting extreme value from the bot lane of Kit, doing what they do best of losing gracefully and then transitioning to the rest of the map to their winning solo lanes. Saying that, they are both winning in CS right now, but we do get to watch Buddy have the better end of this trade. That's just what happens with the Yone when you're able to get to safety mid-trade.
Oh, going in for the Fate Sealed. Will get that one off, but Needlework is available, and that means their Buddy is going to have to be forced away for the time being. Back under his tower.
Both of these laners getting forced away from each other right then. Not wanting to commit to anything, the Yone definitely scales like a monster, but Gwen is no stranger to doing that themselves.
There it is. Pushing out the wave, trying to get this crashing in under the tower so you can take a reset if need be. Pretty much, I mean, I have to say, Piscula and Sirius right now really proving to be a much better bot lane, and, well, they have the winning matchup, but we'll see exactly how Matthew ends up playing him. But Buddy might be in a little bit of trouble. Striker has the ultimate, dashes away, flashes away. Striker still able to be chased, but Nebula is almost here, and the Shyvana is getting really low. Buddy manages to clutch out the first blood, and that means Nebula should also be able to kill Gentleman Hero. 2 kills over to Pessigod, and you have to hope that, wow, that's something else.
Okie dokie, very well played with that little reverse kill. As Buddy, the flash away from the Shyvana ult just means there's a good amount of time where they aren't doing anything, and while they are in the dragon form, ends up going in their favor. Very crispy clean from them, I'll have to say, as now we do have Pessigod using their bot lane dominance to really bring that power to mid. Just make sure that Mazu is fine to crash this wave if they so choose. They don't have to do anything though. Both mid laners still have all 3 corrupting potions after their most recent TPs back to lane. So not too much to be expected. And in reality, what we're seeing is this Lucian that should be not necessarily dominating mid, but as a pick, it really does like to be in the winning side of the matchup, is getting brilliantly neutralized by this Karma.
Yeah, and now Nebula pretty much just should be able to pick up this Rift Herald completely scot-free. Gentleman Hero already neither able to be able to get into the river here, as your top and mid currently both have priority. Top doesn't right now, but the lane is in the middle of the wave. The wave is in the middle of the lane, so he is safe for the time being. And it actually looks really good for Pessigod at this point in the game.
So far, I don't want to jinx anything, but we are looking at a pretty safe position as now. We do have, taking a look at the map, Striker on the bot side, just looking around, trying to see if they can trade jungle. They don't know that Nebula is invading, but with that Rift Herald going down, it is a very safe assumption, but that's the problem here. The bot lane for Pessigod doing a great job protecting their own jungle. I believe they're actually taking the Grump for themselves right now. Just emptying this place away so Striker has nothing to do. Honestly, looking like a completely different team, and it makes a lot of sense because they don't go into it with the handicap of being behind on kills at 3 minutes.
It's exactly that, and right now, Kit, they do have some scaling elements on the team, but we just pan back to the top side and we see Gentleman Hero maybe being able to get the 1v2, but it's not quite possible. Survives on a sliver of health, and that kill will go over to Buddy. Now 2-1-1 with a bounty.
Coming back with vengeance is Buddy. Last time around playing the Aatrox into Fiora matchup and not having a great time. Hold on a minute, that's aggressive.
Getting exhausted, chains going down, but Striker is here to try and dissuade the play. TP coming through. Sirius taking as much damage as possible. Pessigod may be looking for a re-engage, but will back out.
Extremely aggressive from Sirius going in on that one. Isn't going to end up getting anything in their favor. He's going to definitely scare the living daylights out of the Kit mid-jungle duo, but at the end of the day, you do get a massive amount of summoners dropped, including, I would say, most importantly, that Yone teleport, which means if Striker can get a gank down into this top lane, admittedly they don't have the dragon form right now, so not expecting it, then they should be alright. Hold on.
Exactly, a slight skirmish here, but Sirius should be able to eat up a lot of it. Matthew having to back out for the time being. Sofa will miss, but there's a lot of damage going down. Death Rocket picks up the kill. Matthew gets one, but Nebula is here to try and get another. Will take a lot from Tower, however. Maybe Matthew can make the chase happen, but I don't think he quite has the damage. And they will get out alive.
A bit of a whiff from Nebula right then. I'm pretty sure they eat a minion in the process of that one and just flew past the mark. I don't know if they would have been able to kill Cat RL, but nobody ends up dying beyond Sirius, so they're not going to be too upset with that. Obviously, would have liked to use that Rift Herald and start getting some priority on this bottom lane for the Dragons, especially because now, due to how that went, you're going to see no arrow available, no way to stop this Cloud Dragon take. They're going to have two members, but we talked about earlier, Buddy used their TP onto that mid lane play, which means that now they cannot come down here and help. Gentleman Hero can always look to TP on a nearby turret to be a part of the fight if it went on. Just going to be another free dragon over to Kit.
That Ocean Soul now, meaning that this dragon stacking is actually very much in Kit's favor. It is a significant spike if they do manage to secure that objective in due course. And this just tells us that, well, Pessigod really have to do a little bit more early on, but Striker going in for a play here. Sirius dashing back, and that's it.
Take it calm for a moment, because we do have Mazu coming down. This is the time to force something. You have the person advantage.
As the Glacial Fish are just going to back out with the Dragon Form, Nebula dashing all the way back to the tower, dropping the Rift Herald.
That is a lot of damage from Mazu. My goodness. Ash Hour is nearly up. This is a free turret for them. It'll take a while, though, because of how many people have been around it for these plates to fall. I would love to know how much resistances that tower has, because I would be guessing it's somewhere in like the 300-400 armor kind of territory, as now we can see in the mid lane, Redeemed is claiming their own stuff in the middle.
Yeah, trying to get a little bit back. The gold will be matched relatively evenly, and despite the Rift Herald, despite the kill, you're not actually looking at a significant gold advantage for Pessigod, as their farm advantages here and there have managed to keep Kit even in gold, roughly.
I'm just waiting to see if that bot lane tower falls. Can we take a pan down there? As they do manage to get, okay, that's all we needed. Pessigod does secure that before Matthew is back on the map. And you can see that in the bot lane, 30 CS lead over to the Ashe. Amazing play right now from the bot lane of Pessigod, really making this competitive, and it's what we want to see, because this squad, I'm not going to say that they have the requirement to win hard early, because their team does scale, but so does Kit's. So it's not really going to be a situation where you just win the game by the sake of being ahead, and because you are down 2 dragons, all it takes is one steal from Striker, or one bad fight before the dragon spawns, that will enable Kit to really start to put the pressure on this game.
Exactly, it's just whether you give Kit a window, because we have seen that when they do get a window to come back in, when they do get a window to be able to make plays, that's when we get a bit of a problem. That's when they manage to pretty much blow the game straight open. We're going to see whether Pessigod can ensure that they keep Kit muted in the coming minutes.
And speaking of where it's really being shown that this team is being muted, it's the top lane. Buddy, off of that initial play, and I would say initial outplay onto Striker plus Gentleman Hero, obviously Nebula showed up to help at the end, and every time we've seen a fight in this top lane, it has come down to the wire. But they managed to get themselves this lead against Gentleman Hero with very good Yone play in this top lane, taking the carry into carry, and honestly, I'm very impressed. While they are going to be behind a little bit on CS right here, because of how well they've been doing, Gentleman Heroes had to itemize into 2 armor items, getting both the Seeker's Arm Guard and the shoes, before they are able to actually build up any damage for themselves, which is really going to slow this Gwen down. I mean, in the coming fights around presumably that dragon... Oh, hold on.
It's good timing from Nebula to be able to spot that one. He does have the ultimate to get out safely, but instead wants to take the fight. Buddy, having the Fate Sealed go straight down onto Gentleman Hero. He should die. Nebula gets RL. Still very, very healthy on a killing spree. 3 kills over to Pessigod, and that's a Rift Herald.
Absolutely beautiful right there. Mazu coming in to secure that one with the whole team. And you can see on the other side, it's deja vu. Redeemed is just trying to push a tower, get something done at least. But Matthew is so far stunted, they are not even going to be able to clear the mid-wave before it makes a difference. As now, take a look at the time as we got a minute before this dragon. This bot lane turret will fall. Just Redeem trying to deny as much gold over with those minions dying before securing priority, before, I'm assuming, basing. You'd want to definitely hit the base and spend that money you just earned there. But thing is, top lane domination as well. Everybody will be able to come to this dragon who wants to be there. And if we take a look at the teleports, Hero does not have one, Buddy does. So it's fine for them to just run straight down here and then TP to top lane to defend it after.
And it would be really nice if Pessigod can try and slow down the dragon stacking of Kit, because if anything, trying to get Oceans or trying to get these advantages up, because remember, Shyvana gets bonuses off of these. It's going to make her harder and harder to kill. And Striker does currently have a decent amount of farm in his back pocket, but with the gold lead in Pessigod's favor, the flow of the game should be in their control.
Very interesting from Striker here. We saw it last time around when they were ahead on the Shyvana, it was Instant Blade the Ruin King. But now we are getting that frozen gauntlet item. Hold on a minute.
Ooh.
Bit of a dive on the top lane. That's greedy.
Oh, flashing away, Culling will actually be able to get the shutdown. That's a massive kill for Redeemed there. But it will be matched by the Rift Herald in the mid lane, trying to get this mid open.
And they should be able to do so. The only thing that really threatens Pisclo here is the Leona ultimate. But on the side, Dragon is going to be secured for Pessigod. And I'm taking it a bit slow just because Striker is here. And it is worth for them to die for it.
He's going in with the ultimate. No, Nebula secures it. And I think Striker might have to sacrifice his own life for that one. Piscolo picks up the kill. Not a massive gold lead at this point, but it's still a lead in favor.
But the thing is now, with that dead Shyvana, there is no threat for a massive play onto this mid lane. There we go.
There it is. Nebula going to be stunned up. Will not Cat RL back. But Sirius has the flank. Matthew is going to be caught in everything. And that's a double kill. Pessigod looking like a completely different team to last time.
This double support comp is paying dividends. The tankiness and the stuns from Sirius paired with that just constant healing from Mazu in that fight.
Yeah.
You have to remember, Nebula was tanking the turret from the second they walked into the screen there. And they were still alive a good 10 seconds after. Such insanity. I'm very, very impressed with this team, who have not only got a lead against Kit, but it doesn't even look close right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to remember that Pessigod are the least experienced team in the entire tournament versus the reigning champions, which have won twice. The experience differential this game is huge, yet Pessigod are managing to put up such a massive fight. And it just seems like they're building up strength consecutively with every game they play.
And the thing is, for this Kit composition, if you are not making plays with Redeemed and Gentleman here onto the side lane, it's just going to get worse. The comp falls apart in reality, because the Shyvana needs to be ahead or even to do anything in these fights. You can see they are beyond stunted behind Nebula on this Hecarim, already at 2 items, plus shoes. Striker only having the one change in the form of those components. Taking a look at the map, we've got the Baron spawning in 50 seconds, and the worst part, I would say, for Kit this game is that there's a really good Baron take on the opposition. Oh, hold on.
Well, you say that Buddy will have to snap back eventually. Redeem picks that one up. Maybe a bit of an overextension, and it's very much something you want if you're a Kit fan.
Yeah, let's not get too head over heels. Unfortunately for Utero, this is Kit at the end of the day. We've seen them pull a rabbit out of the hat multiple times before as they were going for it again mid lane.
Striker really looking for it. We'll just get out the flash immediately and leave the lane. Although Gentleman Hero has other ideas, going straight onto Matsu. The Death Rocket does land, will be shut down, but it will be traded back. Piscolo are going to pick that one up. Nebula zooming down the mid lane, really wants to kill Striker and should be able to do so with the help of the Ashes basic attacks. And that
Baron.
will be a secondary kill.
You do have the TP on Mazu when they respawn, so I think this is a completely fine Baron take. You know that in the top lane, Culling was just used, Mega Death Rocket was used. While you know that Hero does still have the teleport, it's a Gwen who just used ult. There is really nothing to stop you taking this objective. The only way it goes wrong is if KRL can completely lock up Nebula and try and buy time. See, the TP is now coming in from Redeemed. It's maybe the last chance saloon for Kit right here. Amazing zoning from Sirius.
They don't have a smite, they don't have an engage, but the Baron is only at 2,000, getting lower and lower. Nebula does secure it, and here comes the fight. Carol goes down immediately, but so does Piscolo. Buddy onto the back with The last Gentleman Hero manages to get another one. Culling in on the side. Gentleman Hero goes down eventually to Nebula 2 for free. But YPG get the Baron.
Ooh, and Nebula is going to chase after Redeemed right here. There's not much they could do to find them, but they are now revealed. Mazu. Oh, it's close. This is a very fed Lucian.
Well, Mazu's there, but Lucian has the damage. Redeemed might actually be able to get the kill. Manages to get it. That denies one Baron. I think Nebula should be able to get this one in the end. Not able to just yet. But I think this is a little bit too much of a fast pony. And
the blue smite already, Nebula. There you go. All right. They secured that one up. An extremely long fight. I cannot even tell you how that one began. I believe it was off of the overextended play onto mid lane that got punished by Utero. As let's take a moment to calm it down. We've got the dragon up in 40 seconds, but that is still, I believe, 2 Baron buffs? 2 to 3? I didn't get to fully notice who based, and I'm just completely getting distracted by the floating cat IRL on my screen.
Yep, you gotta love it when visual bugs happen, but if I'm not mistaken, it is Nebula and Buddy with the Baron buffs. Yes.
So that is good, because it means you have one person who will be grouped up with your team and one who is fine to be on a side lane. That is a full Infinity Edge on the Yone along with the Immortal Shield Bow right now. They absolutely demolish anybody they get into a fight with. Dragon, about to spawn. There is no way you should be trying to contest this if you are Kit, as you can see. Not even going to look for it. You burnt all your cooldowns to try and slow down the Nash push. As just being very respectful is Pessigod right now. Waiting until they can guarantee this. No risk. It's going to be the Jinx ult. Comes through a bit early. I mean, understandable. You'd expect them to have already started hitting it. Now the question is, how do you play with this Baron buff? Because you need to start breaking open the base. Because we saw that last fight. While it wasn't, you know, a complete stomp, it was a lot closer than you'd really have liked it to be with how far ahead you are.
Yeah, and the thing is that Kit eliminating 3 of the members of Pessigod in the ensuing fight meant that, well, now you only have 2 Baron buffs. You can't really split this so easily. Most of the duration is gone because of the fact that they had to base, you had to take the Drake, so they've managed to slow down the push of Pessigod massively and are really staying alive in this game somehow. Yes, they are in a deficit right now,
Oh, arrow.
but it doesn't look too awful.
Okay, hold on a minute, buddy.
I shouldn't have said that.
In the 1v2, they managed to pick up 1. They still have 1 Baron buff available for all of 10 seconds, but Pisco getting jumped
Striker
on.
gonna go down, but Piscolo taking so much damage. RL now getting rooted up by Mazu. The damage just isn't there. It's really hard to try and go onto the tower at this point in the game, especially without your Yone. And Pessigod just gonna play it safe.
It's gonna just be the back off. It's okay. You can still look to hit this tower, but this is the real issue we see with the Pessigod comp, is that they do not have any good siege tools. They can poke, but they do not siege.
Oh, well, Nebula is a train coming in on that one. Matthew gonna get feared back, and that might just be it. Cat RL gonna flash away, not able to die. Redeemed looking for it, and I mean, you get the 1 kill and you're just gonna leave.
They've got to, because you have Hero respawn now with the Ghost. This is a 4v4 if you stick around, and they've spent their money. TP coming in, though. They will swing it.
They're looking for re-engage. Buddy with the TP doesn't have the ultimate just yet, but does have his E available. Carol now dead as well.
But at the end of the day, that was a lot invested for just a tier 2 bot lane. It unlocks the map, but it doesn't really open it. This isn't the tower that you typically go for when you try to end the game. Hold on, this is a great pick.
Oh, there's the Enchanting Crystal Arrow, unstoppable away from Striker, and Gentleman Hero really laying down the damage with those needles.
Oh,
2 kills somehow in a very short period of time, and Buddy might be going down too. Doesn't connect with the Death Rocket, but I think the damage is there.
Oh my God.
Though manages to get 1, manages to get 2 somehow.
Oh my god, the miracle fights from both of these top laners coming out massive. Oh, that was scary to watch from both sides, because it looked like it was just Utero getting a bit too greedy in this late game. Throwing it away, feeding 2 kills over to Gentleman here, but responded by Buddy. It's still going to be over to Kit's favor with that, but with no objectives on the map. It is just going to be a brief bit of respite. We've got the Baron up in a minute. It's going to be the time for setup. You have the advantage. You still have multiple item leads over your opposition. I need to see how Pessigod set this up, because now you do not have those free picks coming out beforehand. You need to be looking to get vision in the enemy jungle so you could deny Striker getting to this pit.
Yeah, it's damn tense right now, especially after this fight. You can see that the game is kind of just teetering on a knife's edge in the team fights. We saw the Gwen. If you line up for that one, funnel into a small space, Needlework will keep you alive, and the same goes for the Fate Sealed. Have to watch out for these top laners, have to watch out for these playmaking tools, as we've seen that Kit can really bring it back if they're allowed to.
Okay, remember, we were talking a lot about standings implications if Kit win, because that was the assumption, but guess what? Assumptions are not the name of the game today. Pessigod need to win every game possible to keep their chances alive, because there are 3 teams tied at 1 of 3, including themselves. So if they can manage to 4-0 the day, which on this kind of form is plausible, then they can at least try and secure themselves last chance qualifier. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to this Baron fight to see whether this conversation is moot or just potentially the plan for the day. Everybody is here from Kit and they're trying to burn.
The thing is, you've just chunked out so much health from Striker, having to pop the Dragon Form early for partly survivability and the range, but the engage comes through from Pessigod, but the damage just isn't there. Gentleman Hero melts everyone down. Now the team is split. Piscator having to stay golden for a little bit. Nebula and Buddy likewise, but their health bars are just so low. Managed to split the entire team and somehow come out on top.
How do they manage it? I can't wait to look at a replay from that one after, because that was silly, to say the least. It was just splitting apart the enemy team, like you said, and now they're TPing into the base with Baron. This is going to be minimum in here. This could be it. It's only serious.
They have the death timers are there. Gentleman Hero and Redeem just do too much damage, especially with the wave, making sure that the towers don't have it.
They will get at least 2 towers. This will be very close. You can block the Lucian auto attacks, but you can't stop Hero.
I mean, I just think there's too much. The minions wailing it down. You're only a Braum. The exhaust coming through. And Kit somehow close out that game in 28 minutes.
I can't with this team, man. They look like they're getting demolished for the entire game. And then, in a minute, that was it. We were talking about it, that this team can take what looks like a completely lost game. One single play, and the game ends in their favor. No need for bounties, no need for comeback goal, just an absolute turning on the head. So clean. Commiserations over to Pessigod, because that was a killer performance from this team. And it does mean that now, we've got a very competitive group for everybody that isn't Kit trying to fight for that last chance qualifier spot.
Yeah. Braves might need to watch out later on, as the Pessigod team are definitely on form, managing to keep up with Kit for pretty much the whole game. They were in the lead right until that minute at the end, and this is why we say you give them an inch, you do give them a mile, because they gave them an inch and they gave them the game.
I just can't believe that. That was... Oh, it really does hurt to see a game end like that, but it was so beautifully executed from Kit, and you could just see that veterancy across the entire squad. Oh god, now we need to think about MVP for that game. I don't know, I don't want to... Okay, go. Do a bit of time, I'm just going to think, because I think it has to be redeemed, but I'm just trying to see if there's any reason it would be anybody else.
It's a difficult one. I mean, arguably, you can talk about Gentleman Hero there on the Gwen, making some of those fights happen, but I think Redeemed is probably your best bet overall, managing to be actually a very stable player, probably the only one that really wasn't set too far behind for the entire game, picking up the gold, staying ahead, managing to deal damage, picking up the solo kill on the top side, and honestly, some of the picks kind of just kept Kit alive.
You definitely convinced me. I think I will go with Redeemed for my MVP as well, because in reality, some of those fights are very flashy from Gentleman Hero, but let's take a look through them right now at some of the replays we had so we can get a bit more of a perspective on the match, as this one was, I would say, the real game-setting play from Buddy. Absolute monster performance, buying so much time, dodging away from everything they needed to, and while it is a 2-for-1, at the end of the day, it's a 2-for-1 with the Yone getting massively ahead, and this was the story of top lane. Every single time, it was something that looked like Gentleman Hero could pick up a kill. There was immediate answers, Nebula was already there, and this was what we were promised for this team. This is how they won their game, and it was wonderful to get to see them execute on it over and over.
And now we know that Gentleman Hero, when he's not able to be on this Fury, yes, he's a great top laner, but doesn't necessarily have the proficiency compared to that champion. But we get this fight here where Pessigod completely deathball into the middle of them with the Hecarim and the Yone, and it just goes from there.
Now, this was the one where I was just looking at Nebula's health bar the entire time, and I'm doing it again, just because of the Moonstone healing coming up from Mazu with the shield. Just no way to stop them. This was not the Baron that went wrong, this was the good Baron. We like this Baron for you, Turo, because I thought it was very well played. They have Mazu TP in, and they buy so much time. Obviously, they have a lot of people go down here, and I would say the chase onto Redeemed at the end there really did solidify it being good for Pessigod, but not a complete demolishing. And overall, I would still say, great performance, very promising, but this is where you get to see Hero really show their carry shoes, absolutely obliterating 2 members instantly. As soon as the Bronze Shield falls, it's just 2 dead. And Buddy here does manage to get some redemption, but it's not even close to what we see from Kit for the rest of this game.
Shilbo Proxy gets his W, Qs up the Fate Sealed, literally on 1 HP with the empowered Q, gets 2 people in there. Okay, and that's just the power of Yone in those fights.
Let's watch this again, but slowly. Let's take a look and see what happens, because it's Buddy going on one side, and then Piscolo is left alone on the other. Yes, they are doing fine, but Redeemed massively outstats Nebula, and it is literally just Kit picking the enemy team apart, because it was done so quickly, and in so many different places, there was no way to track it all at once. My lord. Kit, they just find a way every time, this team. I don't want to keep rubbing it in, but apparently it wasn't just about banning Fiora. I'm going to need to make another one of these of also never give them a chance as the next row.
Oh, that's it. I mean, it's so scary to think about. You're in a gold lead for virtually the whole game, up until basically the point that the game ends, but one failed team fight, that's just it. It's over. It's so hard to track everything that's going on there. For a team like Pessigod that might not have the veterancy that Kit does, that's it.
So what we have seen, I would say most promising from this game though, is that A, competition in the group, that's good to see. B, Kit are not invulnerable. As soon as that Fiora is gone, and I'm going to keep wailing on that one in the top lane, because being able to get Gentleman Hero off of their comfort, and still, they are very good at the Gwen, but it at least gives you a window to play the game.
Yeah, exactly that. But we're going to throw it to a break for the time being. In the meantime, check out our partners, Twitch Student and Intel, but we'll be back in a moment for Game 2. Hello again, we're back with UEM 2022, powered by, of course, Twitch Student and Intel. Check them out if you haven't already during the break. And we're here with Game 2, which is Bristol Warriors versus BME.
Fucking over to Group A this time around. We had our It's Fiora top lane group, and now we've got the Control Mage group.
That's it. Yeah, a lot of mid lane players there that like the Control Mages, but I believe we have the standings available, schedule even available for the rest of today. So let's have a look at what we have lined up for you.
So we've got the Group A schedule that we've got here. You can see that we'll have a lot more of their coverage later on at the end of the day. But right now, like you say, it's BME versus Bristol Warriors. We'll need to keep you posted later on. But for the moment, let's take a look as well at what we've got happening over in the other group. Because this, obviously, it's a lot of context we'll keep reminding you today. But Group B is the one that I'm a little bit more cautious about now, because we've got to see firsthand that the team that had the least impressive performance on stream now had, I would say, the most impressive performance so far. Obviously a 1-game sample size. We'll be jumping back over there for IST versus Braves later on after this game. But overall, I'm very, very hopeful that Group A also delivers in a competitive match this time around, and then we could just be having the exact same conversation twice over.
Yeah, and to be honest, if we look at the way the standings went, well, it was exactly the same, in the sense that you had 3 teams at 1-3, 1 team at 3-1, and then 1 team that went undefeated. Although, from what I'm hearing in the off-game matches for Group A, BME did lose.
Okay, which puts them in well, we'll talk about it once we have that completely confirmed of which team is doing well and which team did not do well. But what we do know is that for all of these teams that are 1 and 3, both are the ones that we had at least coming into the day, they are pretty much in the exact same spot we just put Pessigod in, where you need to basically win at minimum 3, at very, obviously you'd like to 4-0 the day, but minimum you need to win 3 games, because that is the only way you can, in this case, tie Vuludag, who are in 2nd place, But overall, we'll need to see if BME can really do that for us today.
Yeah, man. So let's take a look at the BME roster overall with their 5 players: Coco, Hunty, Sora, Shruki, and Kiko. And to be honest, as you talked about a little bit, I think the main thing is recognizing what they need to play for when the draft comes through.
Exactly. This was the game that when we were looking at it, the comps, fine both sides, we didn't have any problems. We'll talk a bit more about their specifics last time around, but realistically we thought, okay, this is great. Hunty, they're on the volley bear. They have a Vex in the mid lane for Sora. This should be good. We are going to see this team really start to snowball off the early game and take the power to their very good side lanes of an Akali and an Aphelios. This looks great, but then they just didn't do it. They took a good 12 minutes to fully get online with this comp, so it's something that hopefully this time around they will show a bit more cognizance of when they need to be making plays happen.
Yeah, and in the one win when Sora was extremely fed on Tristana,
Oh yeah.
the win was very obvious because Sora was extremely fed on Tristana from the get-go with a late 4-man invade. So when you have it right in front of you, it's a little bit easier to recognize. But we will take a look also at the Bristol Warriors lineup as well, which is comprised of Haste, Killmaster, Boshi, Neros, and Johnny Kondo.
And this team was able to take the previous matchup as their only win from the previous time we had these teams on stream was against BME. And overall, what we saw from that game was a very weird comp from Bristol Warriors. They had the Camille top lane with Hecarim jungle. Then in the mid lane, they had that notorious Kai'Sa show up again with a Ezreal Karma bot lane. Again, it has standard elements and then Kai'Sa mid. So it was actually not too difficult for them to pull it together where while Boshi got picked out a fair few times in the mid game on this Kai'Sa, it got to the point where because Haste was doing so well on the Camille, they could just exist in a side lane, buy so much time that the rest of the comp can collapse from very far away. The speed ups from Karma, Hecarim being quite quick, and the pseudo global of the Kai'Sa ult paired with the Ezreal ult just meant that this team played so well reactively come the 20-minute mark or so, which meant that when BME hadn't snowballed ahead and weren't being truly ready to push the ticket, force a lot of these plays that they needed to, we just saw that Bristol ended up wiping them with a soul.
Yeah, that was it. But what held the entire team together? Yes, Haste played well, and you had the combination between the Kai'Sa and the Ezreal. The main thing was Killmaster really living up to his name. Massive kill participation, much like Pessigod before us. 75%. He is around these kills. He is the one setting up plays and helping to protect the rest of the members of the Bristol Warriors.
And remember, this is still 12.5 without the B patch. So things like that Hecarim, and this is the one that I keep wanting to force on to people to remember that, yeah, that exists. You need to be careful because Hecarim got a lot of hearty nerfs on the live patches, but at the moment they are still completely dominant. And Killmaster had a great performance on it because they did a very standard full clear up to top side and then secured first blood for their top laner by killing the Ignite teleport, I believe it was Akali at that game. So what you need to be able to do is, on these super farm junglers, is make sure that you still have some impact on the map so that you're just not invisible. Something that we saw very well from Striker in the first week. We've seen it a lot from the winning junglers on these picks. And I'm hoping to see if Hecarim is still on the table or if we get some other wacky picks like the Shyvana coming up, then we will get to see this kind of skill because Killmaster was really the player to watch for me for this team.
I would imagine that both junglers are opting for very proactive junglers. I think Pick Ban is ready. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but we'll come into it straight as soon as we can. But proactive junglers, we're expecting a lot of that between both sides and really establishing what is the win con for BME.
Okay, gonna instantly take away that Riven. Nothing out of the ordinary. We saw, I believe it was the Akshan and the Jinx also banned away by BME last time around. Obviously, you're on the blue side now, so that does change things, because you can pick up that Jinx first pick. Things like that Hecarim we were talking about, a lot of these power picks that really do warp the draft based on the side of the map you're on, and we've seen a lot of blue side priority in pro play recently to really go to show that there are so many scary champs like that on the table.
Yeah, when you have certain picks in the meta that really distort a game or can pretty much change the way that you play, that's when blue side gets a lot of priority with that blue 1 pick, as we do see Akshan and Ari getting banned out, more pocket picks, which is kind of what you would expect at this level.
Oh, definitely, especially for the initial picks that you don't want to play against. I would actually be curious to see if Hunty is allowed to get onto that Sejuani or the Tristana being allowed through as well. Obviously, still one ban left for both teams. It will be the Zillion taken away.
Okay.
Mean Jinx is still open. Hecarim is still open. I'm curious to see which side of that trade BME are looking towards, because if you don't pick either, then you have to imagine that'll be Bristol's 1-2.
Yeah, just waiting on Bristol to lock in the last ban. What will it be? Will it be a jungle? Will it be an ADC? That's probably what we're expecting to see. 5 more seconds.
Drumroll, it's the Zinzao. Okay, another one of those proactive early game junglers taken off the table like you're alluding to. Volibear's still on the table as a big one for both of these junglers that can go towards, obviously, the Hecarim. We talked a lot about it. And it's really a time where you get to define your draft, because the issue for me about leaving the Hecarim open and then first picking the Jinx, Hecarim loves playing into Jinx. So, ... that's kind of what you had to see coming here. I hope that BME have got some kind of Exodia plan prepared for this. Maybe a really proactive early game jungler with a super scary mid, because you need something like that to threaten the Hecarim and stop them farming early.
Yeah, the speedrun draft right now, but I'm just laughing at the fact that the first 3 picks of the game are the 3 highest presence champions in the entire tournament, with Jinx, Karma, and Hecarim in order. And, I mean, Karma Hecarim naturally has so much synergy with each other. We saw it last game. Yeah. The Moonstone, the move speed, the shielding, and the fact that when you pick Karma early in a draft, you get that flex potential.
And you have the ability to move it to these different roles. Bot lane, we've seen a lot of Ezreal Karma picked up in recent time to get that early prio, the poke, and the safety. When you're against the Nautilus, it's a bit less so. He's a very good answer to the Ezreal, because obviously even if you try and Arcane Shift away, that depth charge will chase you the whole way home, which sets up things like the Volibear, the follow-up hook. They will still go for it for Bristol. I don't think it's the worst pick in the world, but it does very much show in this first rotation that your bot lane's going to be looking to get prio for you, but that's not a bot lane you really play for a lot of the time.
Something that is worth talking about is that Naros, I like to call it this way, will pick Jinx. If Jinx is picked or banned, he will pick Ezreal, because those are the only 2 champions that he has played the entire tournament. And that is a consistent thing with this Bristol Warriors lineup. And I have yet to see a team really wish to target this out. Yes, they kind of want to ban out some more of the pocket picks, but maybe putting the ADC on something that isn't one of 2 champions might be worth doing for future games.
Well, the thing is, when you have these kind of essential bans like the Riven and the Akshan, 2 champions that both Haste and Boshi have shown a lot of proficiency on, you kind of have only one option left there. And if it's something like the Zillion, I would say that's something that warps a draft a lot more than an Ezreal does. And you've already secured the Nautilus, because like you say, it's quite obvious what's going to happen when you have a player who's only gone towards those picks. Not because they're bad, but because they are completely fine picks. It's just a very linear way to draft. As now, we jump on down to the second rotation bans, and there's that Renekton. You were right, it was Group A that had the hyper Renekton priority banned away again, and part of the reason for that is because of this Camille. It's very popular amongst the top laners in the group, and you can't blind Camille without getting rid of Renekton, so you see the little trade right there in the ban saying, alright, we would really like it. Are you going to let us have it? No.
But what Bristol will get is a ball delivery system between the Orianna and the Hecarim, looking to have a very explosive team fight when it comes down to it. And we'll see exactly what BME are going for. Right now, it does seem to be a proactive Hunty going down for Coco. Yes,
you remember the last time that happened? When Sora, we were alluding to it in the pre-game, but when Sora got Tristana into Orianna, it was disgusting. 14-1, I believe they finished. This time they will go for a much safer Corki pick instead. Fine. Won't get the explosive game. Yes, it's a better pick. Overall, it's far more consistent. All those boring terms like that. But now we have to find out how BME really want to tie this together with their blind top laner that they're going to have to look towards.
Yeah, it's not coming through, but imagine if Aurelion Sol got picked and then it was Corki top. But look, there's the Het. There's the Het. Oh my word. Okay, there is the set hover, but it will be a Gwen instead for Coco on the top side. And we'll see what Johnny Kondo wishes to pick for Haste as a counter pick.
There's a lot of different options still on the table right now that work quite well with your comp. Taking an inkling out of the other side of the bracket, yes, I think that's a completely fine way to go about it. As I'm looking at the board right now, and I would say that Bristol have got absolute domination in these side lanes, at very least pre-6 for certain. Post-6, it gets a bit more variable in that bottom lane. If you do have Hunty coming down there and the package coming down, it's an extremely susceptible lane. I think that top, Haste, as long as they aren't put massively far behind, should absolutely smash this lane open.
There is an obscene amount of Fiora players in this tournament.
Why not?
I just have to say, seeing Fiora like almost every game, or it's banned out because somebody's too good at it, or it just gets picked.
I didn't think I'd get to use this prop again, but I'm just going to cover up this little bit. Will this be the case? You show me, Haste. I've seen your Camille, and I was half impressed and half disappointed. Now give me a Fiora. Give me the real vibe. Let's see if this is going to become the tournament meta on this patch of, okay, Gwen's still a top laner, but Fiora,
Yeah, there it is. Fiora, Karma, Jinx. That's that. Those are the 3 champions you should be watching out for, and I guess the Hecarim's kind of just there, enabling the rest of them. Doing the full clear as Hecarims do.
Killmaster, he's got Hecarim again, right? They just let him get away with this, and this is the pick that really set off their team for success, because I'm looking at the comp that Bristol had last time, right? And I already went over it once, but I'm going to say it again and see if you guys catch a trend here. They had Camille top lane, this time they have Fiora. They had Hecarim jungle, this time they have Hecarim. They had Kai'Sa mid lane, now they have the Orianna, which is a bit different, admittedly. But then they had the Ezreal Karma bot lane. It's almost the exact same comp that they used to beat you in the previous time you played. So BME have to take their completely different comp and really make it work, because they still have some of those key pieces like the Volibear in the jungle. But with losing lanes on either side lane, or at least lanes that do not get you prio, to say the least, I'm a little worried.
There it is, loading onto the Rift once more. BME and Bristol, the second time round for these two. Last time Bristol came out on top, and we'll see whether that will be the same thing. Hunty flashing the nice little sad B emote there as he gets revealed on the top side.
Fear this won't be the last time we see it, as I really like this from Sora. Actually starting the Q, I was really curious to see, because if you start the E on the Corki, you could get an insane amount of damage done at that level 1. But just decided to go for the basic trade. At the end of the day, there is plenty of time right now for Boshi to base, so it's not worth changing your ability or opting into a different one even, just for that. Gives you a little bit of first strike gold, I suppose, as you will need it, because in the lane phase, Boshi should be able to get absolute dominant prio pre-6, being able to use the bull to outrange the Corki, but after that, then Sora, it really comes down to how good FPSs are you, because you need to be hitting these rockets, and if you do, Boshi can't play the lane. If you don't, then Orianna can just threaten to kill you over and over with Hecarim.
It's worth noting here that Killmaster will get a leash, whereas Hunty will not, so will definitely be a little bit faster, but this means that Johnny Kondo and Naros will sack lane a little bit, but I think they're pretty much okay with that, as Ezreal has the capacity to farm with Q.
Yeah, you're going to be fine playing on the back foot, and actually, I will bring up the fact that both these ADCs have gone for the longsword 3 pots, implying that they are a bit wary of an early play, going for the 3 pots as opposed to the refillable potion, but by going for those longswords, it speeds up their early itemization quite a bit. So it's going to be expected passivity. Obviously, Kiko on this Nautilus is the one player in this bot lane that can really make a big difference early on. If you don't, though, you will get zoned out by Johnny Kondo, and that ward has done dividends for them, avoided getting hooked in the early levels.
And there it is, just stand back, wave goes on the tower, you farm that one up. Case pushing in for the time being, kind of expected as such, as he did hit the level 2 first, but Killmaster very much ahead of the clear right now and should be in a prime position to be able to make an influence on the map.
And I haven't noticed any pings on the minimap trying to fish out where the enemy jungler will be. You do see that ward put down defensively by the BME bot lane after they had that bit of prio down there, so I'm going to say that they aren't certain where Killmaster is, even though there was a leash. At the end of the day, fake leashing is beyond meta, and all these players are very competent. So it really comes down to more of a mental game, more so than an actual mechanical aspect of it.
Yeah, and that's it. How well you can read where the jungle is. Killmaster just going to hover top side, probably just going to do his crab in a moment in time, but does allow Haste to make some more plays there. Doesn't actually proc the Vitu, and that means that BME Coco can pop the Ghost and go for the kill. Will get it first blood over to the top side of BME.
And you've actually left Killmaster out to die here, because they can't go anywhere. You're about to be collapsed on as this Hecarim, and they have the Conqueror, not the Phase Rush. This should be a second kill. It's just going to be the question of who gets it in reality. Oh, yeah, this would be absolutely
he's in no man's land. I think Hunty is going to have to be the one to secure it. Not just yet. There it is. I mean, okay. Wait, I don't even know. I think the Volibear does win this with the W in the time to come. There it is. ended up being a little bit tight, but Hunty does pick up the kill in the end, and that actually delays Killmaster's farming a lot because of the amount of time that was stalled.
This is not what we expected, as we were pivoting this game and setting it up to be that BME need to remember what their comp's priorities are. They managed to get early playmaking done, which I really like, as they are using this bot lane dominance from Bristol to at least try and get something, but at the end of the day, you don't really have kill threat as Karma Ezreal until people are a lot lower. Haste! Oh, this sucks. That's a Bramble Vest first for Coco.
Oh,
that means
no.
these vital trades actually don't always go in your favor, because if Gwen gets a solitary auto back at you, the healing just isn't going to be enough, and I feel like this has really turned the tempo of the game for what we were expecting.
I mean, Haste was sitting pretty on this matchup, very much chilling, and now can't really do so. Still going to take the trade with Coco. Killmaster is here to be able to support him, but Coco has so much health and so much damage, just kills Haste right off the bat, and see if Killmaster can actually get this. But you're a level down, you have no mana, and you can't get the kill.
This is awful. Bristol are, I'm not going to say doomed, that's a bit preemptive, but Coco is just an absolute monster up in this top lane. Now that they have got their Bramble Vest, and they're going to be able to just continue to itemize normally because of that second kill, oh, this is just unplayable for Haste now. Until 6 at very least, where they can start to threaten all wins, but at that point, I don't know, we already saw what happened right then. Forcing a little bit early before Killmaster could be in range. And it does leave a completely different side of the story first time around. Killmaster made their way up to the top lane and swung the matchup completely in Haste's favor before it even had a chance to go away. But now, after that very proactive kill by Coco at the level 3 mark, I believe it was, going on 4, Haste really hasn't been able to get back into this game.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what Bristol Warriors need to do to be able to get themselves out of that one for the time being. But they have a slight advantage in the bot lane at the moment. Not really anything significant, but let's see what they can do. Johnny Kondo being able to get the root down onto Hunty. Hunty going onto Johnny Kondo, but Neros will pick up that kill. And that is nice. A little bit of something for the disaster that happened in the top side.
You need some respite, at least putting one of the, I would say, the early game champion of the Volibear behind is important. It doesn't really shut them down, but it will give you this first dragon, which is nice, because when we talk about scaling with this game, I am wincing as I say it, because it is a really tough one to put the mark on. Because if you think about range, which I feel like is the real way I define scaling now, is Ezreal has really good poke, so does Corki, and both of them scale very well, that's great. But then we look across the rest of the map, Hecarim obviously better than the Volibear. There's no like real way to fully put this down. It's all situational, because especially about the side lane for me is if Hunty is able to impact the top lane again and really put Haste out of this matchup, then I feel like this is going to go massively BME favored, because you could just force 4v5s and then have them dominate the side like we're seeing already.
Highly depends on how the fights are set up and whether both teams recognize what their best route into a fight is, what their best win condition for a fight is, and we'll see whether BME and Bristol in this situation can make good use of that in the team fights to come. For the time being, Bolshi just taking a trade, both supports hovering around the mid side, and I'm looking at the top side, however, because I think that's a potential dive.
It's only a level 5 Volibear. I'm very curious to see if they'll hit 6 off of these minions, because as we can see, Killmaster's here, they are level 6 themselves, but you are wildly outstatted.
Yeah, Coco is there popping the ghost.
This is dangerous. You have Johnny Kondo
you just
in range,
have to leave.
Yeah. It's not worth. As the Rift Herald is going to be spawning in a second, this should be a pretty free take for Hunty now. Knowing that that is a ghostless Hecarim, it looks like actually the entire BME squad working so well together, just leaving these ADCs alone in bot. Oh, this is a dead Hecarim.
Oh no, I mean, you're caught between 3 people. Kiko doesn't actually get the hook, manages to escape. The unstoppable provider by the Onslaught of Shadows getting you out of there, but you lose farm and you lose an ultimate, so you live, but at what cost?
It's a very tense game state so far, as Haste instantly forcing out that ghost from Coco. One of the few windows where you can look for that solo kill potential and try and get that shutdown goal, but now, you're completely doomed. You don't have the armor, you need to get away.
And try and parry this one here, but I don't think you really can. There it is. Stop the ignite, but the Hunty will secure the kill.
And with that secured, it's just going to be Gwen free hitting onto this tower. And the thing is, look at the punish on the other side. There really isn't one. It's just Johnny Kondo trying to zone out Shruki on this Jinx from the tower XP, and that is all you could do. But the fact that they're going to be able to get back to it... Ooh.
There you got the flash, and that is always something nice, and the plating secured right there. So a minor lead in the bot side, and maybe leveraging this alongside the Orianna later on might be what you want to do. As I say that, Killmaster is down here, but he is spotted on the ward.
That's tragic, and because they had to use the Ghost and the ultimate up on the top side defensively, you really can't just go for a super aggressive dive, which I would say was the only way that you're really going to be able to make this play alright. You can see that the Ezreal Karma's doing fine, but Jinx, well, down a flash, still even in CS. Very nice play from Shruki so far, managing to keep this one going, as Killmaster, again, just being outplayed by Hunty. They're always in front of the Hecarim, they're ahead in farm. It's honestly just everything that you want to see when you're trying to put a Hecarim out of the game.
Yeah, and that's it right now. Gold lead and advantage for BME. About 2,000 at this point. 9 minutes. But Bristol have the Drake. Next Drake is the Mountain, and this does leave Cloud Soul open, so not necessarily something you want to contest.
You say that, Hecarim loves a bit of Cloud Soul with all that movement speed they get, so not the worst thing in the world, but I agree, it is definitely not a primary objective, as we see the Rift Herald being traded right now. But that is a level 6 Volibear, well, level 7, but the point is that they have the ultimate, who is coming to shut down this Ezreal. They have both sums, but they are completely owned. I expect this play to go down one way or the other. Let's take a look and see what happens as the TP comes out.
Yeah, there it is. All the damage coming through as we come down. Neros managing to deliver the sliver, just about gonna get secured. But it's a 1-for-1.
And it will be the support picking up the kill. Kiko having to trade their flash. And the zone saw out. I don't think this will be a dead Hecarim. No, okay. If that rocket had hit, maybe they could look for something super aggressive, but won't do it. As nice play from Boshi to keep their bot lane still in the game. Waver's going to push back out as they are looking for more kills on the bot side. Hold on a minute. Nice.
Oh, well, there you go. Shruki goes down. Boshi gets another one now. 2-0 on the Orianna.
I want to see this Volibear. They're going for the invade, but they're about to get collapsed on by everybody. Killmaster, if they survive here, then this goes awfully.
Really low Volibear having to go through mid lane. Johnny Kondo there with the speed.
The Great Bear Chase.
Ooh, yep, there it is. Hunty getting hunted, but not able... Yeah, they can't really make it. Bit too slow there on that one, but you do get the 2 kills, and now it's whether you can leverage the ball, the shockwave from Orianna alongside the Hecarim in these team fights.
You've had to buy a lot of time. You know Hunty doesn't have the ultimate, so they have to commit flash to get into this pit. I don't think the Blast Cone is up. You see this HP? Not going to risk it. Oh my god!
Oh, what?
Not... Okay. Oh,
Well, it is
yeah,
a Cloud Soul, though. So, we know that now. Although Shruki managing to steal it with a Death Rocket was not something we expected.
That was nerfed for this patch, for the record. That rocket was nerfed a while ago for avoiding that specific circumstance, but very nicely played from Shruki. No smite for Killmaster at the time. It was just them taking it out of opportunity, not because they were setting up for the dragon. Okay, that makes this a very different kind of game, because if we could start threatening towards the soul and one more dragon, then maybe you can actually do something. Because I was talking about how Hecarim really likes Cloud Soul for the obvious reasons of movement speed good, but Karma, extremely good user of it because she can just burn the ultimate all the time, and also haste. It's actually really important for the Fiora because being able to move around this Gwen and keep up with the Ghost will actually enable you to proc those vitals more consistently. As hold on a minute, what's happening here with Boshi?
I have no idea, but his health is getting extremely low, and the Stormbringer comes through. BME Hunty securing that one. And that's not what you want to see if you're a Bristol fan.
I believe that was package invested right there. Forced out the flash as Killmaster getting chased down here. Does have the Rift Herald. Okay, so right now we have a contest over at the red buff in the top side, but this bot lane is where I want to focus because provided no shenanigans happen over there, there's still a Rift Herald in Killmaster's inventory. Plates are about to fall. They do not have anywhere to throw it down before those go.
Killmaster getting seen in his own jungle once more there. Oh! Okay, well, the fear away from the Flash actually manages to keep him alive. I almost signed him a death warrant. The death rocket didn't hit either.
Okay, that was very intelligent from Killmaster with the ultimate, because if you go for the long one, then the Volibear does manage to keep up with you with the Flash, or at very least force your Ghost for free. Nice. Okay, Killmaster survives. They have the Rift Herald. They don't have anywhere to use it. They should be able to quickly drop it down bot lane before basing, and that will secure First Blood Tower. It won't be any plates, though.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is something, and it's gold. So you always want gold. You need it for items.
Well, you need it for items, and you need it to try and equalize across the map. Because particularly in this top lane, we could potentially toggle over to gold at some point when we have a moment. Don't need to do it right this second, but we can really get to looking at where this lead is. Because I'm imagining it's all in the top side, right? Because if we take a look at the bottom lane, he's actually chucked it down mid, because, by the way, the bot lane tower fell before they got down there, so Killmaster just getting a bit of mid lane chunking down because they had the Rift Herald in inventory.
Well, it is kind of just free golden XP for Sora, though, at the same time, so it is what it is. Kind of traded back in one sense, because it didn't really get much more done as we pan to the top side, and Haste gets the shutdown onto Coco. Would have loved to see how that one exactly went down, but that's massive.
Oh my god, that's insult to injury. Hunty is here, they have the ultimate and the smite. This is a dead Haste no matter what. Okay.
Well,
trade
it back, I guess.
Fedbear. But we get to see why this top lane matchup sucks so badly for Gwen. Haste, as soon as they get the ultimate, they can start to actually fish for those outplays. Coco burning both the Ghost and the ultimate, not able to get anything from it. As now, Gold Drink is secured for Haste. I feel like we may not be seeing that for the last time of the run of play in the side lane.
Exactly that.
What?
Okay, we're going to go back to the side lane because clearly Sora's TPing in. They really want this top turret. I mean, opening up the lane a little bit allows Coco to move a little bit more around the rest of the map, and also potentially to get those tier 2 turrets, because those tier 2 turrets are worth more gold. And I did also see that in the kill feed.
I feel like that was the story of this last matchup too, of ... and Boshi died. Because they really did get picked up quite a bit on the Kai'Sa in the mid game. The thing is, when you have this Ezreal Karma, who basically need to take your mid lane away from you, you can't have the Orianna or side lane be safe.
I'm not sure if you win this, but the Onslaught Shadows will fear Coco into taking 3 tower shots now. Needlework coming through.
Bring on another.
Haste doesn't have the damage as of yet, but Johnny Kondo is here in position, looking to secure the kills for Bristol. Exhaust going straight down, but the Stormbringer and the Needles and the Rocket does go wide. No one dying just yet for Bristol. It's a double kill for Soren, and that's massive.
My lord, that was close to the wire. Very cleanly done. I say cleanly. Maybe that's the wrong choice of word. Very narrowly done by Bristol to come out on top of that one, collecting shutdown gold. And now with mid lane, both tier 1 towers are down, which means that this is a very open map. When we talk about the ability to rotate quickly, part of the reason that Karma is so high priority is when you're in comp, she just has so much utility. Being able to use that mantra speed up on everybody and having the Shirelles in inventory. We saw right there, the only reason Bristol were able to collect anything was just off of the rotate. Oh, please not another steal.
Oh. Like, for a second there, I thought that Zap was going to secure that with the 400 health. And then the damage coming through from Bristol. But no, in the end, it does get picked up by Bristol. That is that Cloud Drake over. Still 2 more Drakes for them to make it to Seoul, as they did deny the last mountain with the Death Rocket.
But it's more move speed, right? That's the reason I wanted to talk about the Karma helping so much with rotations, is when you have a really bad side laner in the Orianna, who is just going to get outranged by the Corki and then dived over and over by the Volibear, as we may get a demonstration of in a second. And B, a Fiora who does win their side lane, you want to come help.
I mean, Boshi's should just be gone. I mean, it's a matter of time. There it is, picked up again by the bear, taking all of the kills right now, keep themselves in the game. You continue snowballing and securing these kills.
And that's the difference between taking a fight at a tier 1 side lane tower and a tier 2 side lane tower. Because we saw that Johnny Kondo and Neros were rotating, but even with the Karma, right, at the end of the day, it's not a rise ult. It doesn't get you immediately. Killmaster being chased. I feel like every time I go to
It's just been the story of the game. It's Killmaster being chased in his own jungle, and yet again we see it happening. Coco stealing away some of those raptors.
Okay, alright, this has got to turn into a big fight.
Okay, haste on the back. Carries most of it, but will get killed by Coco. Now, Killmaster, Line comes through, so does the Onslaught of Shadows, but it's not enough. That's a double now for the Gwen. Neros getting slowed down by Shuriken. Coco on the run here, popping the Ghost. Neros getting chipped down here and there by those scissors. Hunty gonna pop the Stormbringer, looking for the Karma. Neros goes down. Coco's on a killing spree. And, oh, okay, I mean, I guess Boshi killed Sora?
Yeah, they were just getting flanked on the side right then. And it's not exactly going to equalize the play, but it gets it damn close to being the case. There's now no towers, no Rift Tower will be secured off the back of that. Dragon up in 3 minutes. We'll be hopping into a bit of a lull state. But the thing is, if we take a look down the kill feed, well, it's going quite decisively in BME's favor if that's the only place you're looking. The only thing is, you are against an Orianna Hecarim at the end of the day, and you do have a mobile carries. You have Shruki, you have Sora, who, well, Sora does have the Valkyrie to escape. If the Orianna ult from the Fear is going off, you're dead anyway, so this is going to be very independent on those factors to see how the fights go.
Alright, well, BME managing to keep their lead, mostly through this usage of the Gwen. 4,000 gold, they are 1 Drake down, but it's 20 minutes. So a lot of windows to come through, and as we saw in Game 1, sometimes the game can just be decided on the outcome of a single team fight. So very much up in the air right now.
I mean, you have a Jinx in the game, you have a Fiora in the game. Very well put, because both of these champions hilariously swing how a fight should go. They're 1-5 right now for haste in the top lane. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. If they get to proc that ultimate once they have the Ravenous finished up, then they are just going to be an absolute demolition crew on their own, sped up by Johnny Kondo, shielded by Boshi. Just the amount of acceleration, literally and figuratively, tools that can be put onto this Fiora and Hecarim really do start to cover up the lack of itemization when looking at their counterparts.
Is it exactly how you can leverage this? Because as we've discussed multiple times, does BME recognize what they need to do to be able to close out this game? Yes, they've been picking up kills, but I don't really feel like they've been converting it that well.
Not yet, but the Baron is on the table and you have a Jinx, so ... I think we know how this is going to go. You can start this objective quite handedly because Hunty, being so far ahead with that Divine Sunderer, will just be a super tank on the objective. But the only issue is, like we're seeing here, Neros, Johnny Kondo, Boshi, all extremely good champions for poking over a Baron rule. As, hold on a minute, that's the Shockwave invested, chunk them out. Huh.
Actually, a lot of damage. Like, at this point, Boshi, having secured a few of the kills and some of the shutdowns, actually doing quite a lot. And it's just a good reminder that this Shockwave, in combination with the Hecarim, it's a combo you've seen multiple times, day in, day out, in coordinated play, and it is very potent.
This is why I'm a bit worried, because Coco does have the Ghost, and you know that's a no ultimate Orianna. I feel like this is going to be a death here. Yeah, okay.
I feel that it's inevitable. Needlework having to come out here for the damage. Boshi managing to dodge quite a lot, but it's just too much. Coco's just too far ahead at this point.
And I was going to say that's an Orianna without Shockwave for the Dragon, but actually it's just a team without Orianna for the Dragon. As now they do have the Shadow Flames. This Orianna does do insane damage to everybody on the enemy team, bar the Volibear in reality, because they're all squishy. Thing is, when you think about Shadow Flame, you have to look at where the shields are. And while the champions on the enemy team don't naturally have it, 3 of them are squishy, and they have a Locket. So as soon as the Locket gets used, which you oddly enough use against the Orianna ult in most cases, you're actually going to be harming your own team because the overall MR reduction coming out from that item just leaps up to 20, and then the Orianna does true damage to the rest of your team for the whole fight.
Yeah. Pretty good item, I would say. In general, huge amounts of pen alongside the Ludens, getting that mythic passive online as well. But right now, Bristol Warriors yet to actually be able to find an opening.
Hold on. They have invested a TP into this. They need to find Coco.
They talk about an opening. Coco might be one of them, but we'll just get
No, they've got to get to the Baron.
And the Baron's been done.
You have the Shurelias. They're going as fast as they can.
I don't know how low this objective is, so it might be done by the time they get Killmaster goes in and the Baron will go down in return. How many people can stay alive from Bristol? That's the question. 1 goes down again. Now you have 3 with the Baron. Coco unable to chase, taking too much damage from Neros. And somehow they managed to steal that and get away with it.
Very nicely played by the Bristol squad, rotating over there and managing to secure the steal. I'm not going to say it was the safest of scenarios. That was definitely a high variance play.
Yep.
That one way you just lose the game because Hecker revolts in, you lose Baron, a second person dies and they get to walk it down mid with a Jinx and end the game most likely. But it pays off and keeps you alive in the game. Boshi once again being chased.
Yeah, doesn't have the shockwave flash over Hunty, doesn't have the flash, but he used it to get in there, so Boshi still manages to survive, gets to reset here. Okay, right. We have a game.
Let's bring it in for a moment, because I don't think Dragon is really going to make a big impact on this game. So let's look at itemization. We have 2 items for both of the top laners, amazingly. A lot more components in the Gwen's pocket, admittedly, but at the end of the day, they are components, so it's not going to swing the matchup too much at the moment. In the jungle, lead is over to Hunty. We've seen Killmaster get close to some of these plays, and they really, really want to get that death stance, because if they do, then the shielding from their mid support can really act as that buffer time for them to get the solitary reset in a fight, and that does so much for this champion.
There's Killmaster looking for the engage right here, just gonna dash in, but he's brought with the dredge line, and that might be an engage option for BME right here. The re-engage does not, however, happen as Bristol Warriors just leave the site.
And we actually have Coco TP in on the flank and then decide to call it off. They're just going to rotate up the top and get pressure up there. Forced haste to come over to that side where there's a lot less to gain from pushing. Overall, getting bot lane towers is usually better than top lane just because it keeps you that priority for any Baron attempts. Now, Biko looking. They still have Stormbringer as well. Depth charge available. If you ever step too far up, you get point and clicked. And we haven't talked about it much, but the ease of execution for engage is definitely on BME's favor.
There it is, Coco getting another solo kill onto Haste. But maybe he goes down in return, I think a little bit too fast with the Ghost right there, so he does manage to evacuate. And again, we just see the members of Bristol Warrior just getting picked alone.
Oh, this has got to be the window. You have the shockwave. Not up yet, though.
Yeah, there it is. But Killmaster just dies before he could do anything with it.
This is just not what we want for Bristol for being able to make this game competitive. They're still alive in it, but only in name right now. This is BME showing up a different form, showing a recognition of their win condition with, I would say, a easier to execute and a cleaner comp overall. There's a little rule when it comes to drafting scaling, is that if you think about 10 being the most scaling comp and 1 being the least scaling comp, if the enemy goes for something like a 7, which I would say that the Bristol Warriors comp is, then you probably want to aim for something like an 8. So you scale a fair bit better, but you're worse off in the early game, which is what they've done. They're still competitive. With that early play by Coco, that really did carry them through with Hunty's priority in the jungle. And off the back of that, they've really just been able to completely deny anything from Bristol and also keep their win cons alive. As now they have the range advantage, they have the engage advantage for ease at least, and they're going to be building up an objective advantage with this dragon.
Alright. Question is, BME still needs to close it out. They know their win con. They have it in their pocket. They have the Jinx, they have the Corki together alongside a potential Gwen with the needlework. That can win a team fight and you go from there. But the problem is, it does feel a bit slow at the moment. Whilst Bristol Warriors are getting picked apart, it's not happening quickly. They're converting it into maybe more gold, maybe an objective as we see here. Now you're on Soul Point. But the structures have actually remained pretty much the same for quite some time now.
Big shockwave, it's going to get at least 1 pick. But it's only 1 pick, but basically all of your tools bar the Hecker remote invested. Oh, as for buying time, that is really what Bristol can do, is use the Hecker remote to get 1. But yeah, that is the issue. You can't really buy time against the Corki, because if they get to do that once or twice, then all it takes is the Jinx ult, and then they can just walk it down mid and end the game off of the back of it.
Be very careful about this build in Corki. Uden's allowing it to have so much poke, but maybe Boshi can get the kill onto Hunty, and there it is! Shut down! Gets his revenge finally against the spare that's been hunting him the entire game.
Only armor really itemized from this volley bear, so Boshi can act as a win condition for this team. As we see, they basically do true damage to everybody on the enemy comp. It's going to take a little while for Hunty to get tanky. Oh, anything but ... Killmaster dies. They managed to get out this time around.
Johnny Kondo blocking the Death Rocket there. And Killmaster really just not really had a very fun time on the Hecarim in this game.
But Baron's about to be up. Hunty will be respawning before it is available. They'll be getting there in time. So what I would really like to see Bristol do is try and find a pick right now to at least buy time and get the BME squad sweating. Because when you're around this objective, you want them to have invested Coco's TP so Haste could threaten the side lane. Because a straight up team fight, I'm a little bit scared. I don't think it decisively goes in your favor. You need Shruki or Sora to really step out of line, and you can see by those score lines, they really haven't yet. They are being extremely consistent on these carries, and unless they end up faltering, this should still be BME's game.
That is the question. Slowly but surely, BME are developing their leads and making sure that they can
Sora
get the
has
game in the
package.
bag.
Oh, this
Remember,
is so scary.
These games are very important. The teams need these wins to be able to try and make that second place, that all-important second place, to move on to the next stage of the tournament. For the time being, it will just be a bit of a standoff.
Remember, the package doesn't last that long. It's only about a minute, and Sora has waited a lot of time here as they go for it now to just zone off the Baron.
Kondo taking so much damage, and alongside the Death Rocket, Boshi just completely zoned out of the fight right now. But Killmaster might be looking for it. Shirelia's got popped. There's the TP now. The Baron's leashing and regenerating. Haste goes back up. But here comes Coco. Can he make it happen?
Boshi has the teleport. If they can get out and keep this fight going slow, then there is the potential to look for another contest. You'll have all your members over. The thing is, that's still a level 15 Orianna. If you can somehow get them the XP for 16, it could really sway this fight in a big way. But now they're coming in mid, way too far away from the objective. Killmaster has the ult. They could look for another Miracle Steal to keep this game alive.
6,000, 5,000. Baron dropping slower and slower, but Sora just annihilates Johnny Kondo out of nowhere.
Oh,
now the question is, can you get the objective? Coco zoning off. Nera
You've lost this before. Will you take the smite fight, Hunty? It's very scary. This is almost mirrored to the last time that these two teams played, but it was the other way around. It was Bristol zoning off the Baron. It's so low. It's within steal range now.
Oh, there it is. Goes in. He does it again. The two go down. But what cost is it? You get the Baron, but you lose 4 members, and you probably lose 5. That might mean that Coco can just end the game. Soren, Neros manages to get 1 here, but Hunty will pick up the kill on the Ezreal. In due course, come on, a few more autos. Yep, there it is, and they're all in the mid lane.
Wow, what an amazing parallel between these two teams, ending the game in almost the exact same manner, just flipped across the side. BME, with a dominant performance off of the leads generated in that top lane, managed to take this one away. Will just be a matter of time before they end up getting that Nexus. Don't worry, guys, it's got 5,000 HP. It will fall eventually.
Might not have had your smite button binded correctly this game, but still managed to close it out in fashion. Slow and steady wins the race, I would say. And BME getting another win.
Close is what I will call that one. There were definitely a lot of windows where it looked like BME had lost it and Bristol were able to come back into it, especially while those isolated kills up on the top side. But at the end of the day, very nice play from BME overall. I think for me, pretty decisively going to be Coco getting the MVP for that Gwen performance early, really swinging the matchup that is meant to go in Fiora's favor. And then that was what generated the lead for this team. That was the first domino that fell that helped this team stay alive with their super scalers, let's say, in the form of the Jinx and the Corki. And we saw some of those package damage, some of those rocket damage from both of them nearly killing in that last fight from just 2 abilities alone. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about the Gwen this game is that we did see how that matchup went in the first few minutes, and it was the fact that, well, Haste was winning. But suddenly you get the 1 kill, you get another kill, you get to buy a Bramble Vest very early on in the game, and Haste simply can't do anything because you have a Volibear constantly around the top lane as well.
Very good play from Hunty. I'm glad to see that they are still performing. They obviously had a great time on their signature Sejuani last time we covered, but overall, seeing them perform on the volley bet is great. And let's take a look at the replays now, and we can start to see how that game unfolded again, just from a different perspective. And it was off the top of this play. This is the reason for me why Coco is getting the MVP from my perspective, at least. Just the chase down, respect onto Haste's damage. But as soon as they have invested those cooldowns, they know this is my time to shine.
It's just very sad because Haste almost got the Vital there, and you have to think that if you did get it, maybe you get the move speed and get out. There it is, Haste again, showing the Hunty, and of course the support Kiko, diving the top lane, getting the priority around the Gwen, and there it is. Another one of these plays. This was traded back.
It was a good TPM from Boshi, and I will say that while they did have their expected moments, I'll say, from this player in the side lane where they got picked out a couple times, they really were essential for keeping the game alive. Picking off Hunty at some point in the mid game, defending their bot lane with that TP right there, stopped it just being a 2-0. And then overall, this Orianna pick had a lot of value, but it just wasn't able to literally match the impact of the Corki because they could never get in range to do their abilities. Every time a fight started, Killmaster was already dead because they were behind on the Hecarim, all off of the back of this non-stop aggression into their jungle.
And then there's this rocket hitting here in the top side. That just reminded me the amount of rockets from Shruki this game that managed to make such an impact in the end. And this was a really tense fight here, if I remember correctly. Like, Killmaster goes down very early on, but then you have the re-engage between Johnny Kondo and Haste, and they managed to just about clutch it out.
And I'll say that Hunty played extremely well around the Fiora parries throughout this game. They would either not arm the Q and then just wait until the Fiora had to bust the parry, or they would just run up and stand there with Q until it wore off. So they were very aware, and then we got to this Baron fight right here where it was just a chase down after the fact. And again, a steal from Killmaster keeps the game alive, as I'm sure we'll keep seeing that the next time around it doesn't go as successfully for them.
Yep, not quite. And of course, BME managed to close out the game here, especially after this tense moment where you just have both teams in a Mexican standoff across this top line. Eventually, Killmaster goes and steals the Drake, but unfortunately no one gets out alive, and that was it. Huge amount of damage there from the Corki. I think that was a Corki big one, actually, in the back.
It was. You could see the Hydra procs going off. But if you go back and watch the previous time these two teams played, it is almost perfectly mirrored around that fight right there. It was just the other way around, because it was the Poke Kai'Sa mid lane and the Ezreal doing all of the outranging. And I think that that was what the evolution of BME was coming into this game, of going, wait, if we just take the range advantage, what can they do? That was how they beat us. Fair play, they did it. Good stuff.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, I think that's the way to put it, and certainly, even though Karma's been picked a lot, has not necessarily had the best win rate, it seems, today. But we'll see if that changes in Game 3 shortly after a break, where you can spend some time to check out our sponsors, Twitch Student and Intel. Hello everyone, and welcome back to UEM 2022, powered by, of course, Intel Twitch Student. And it's myself, Kua, with Melvin Izzle, yet again. With Game 3, we're going back to Group B this time, and it's IST, the Portuguese seed, versus the Braves.
And we get some great narratives coming into this one, but before we go too in-depth on that, let's start it off with that Portuguese roster. Let's jump on over to IST and take a look at them. They are coming off of a loss against Kit. So, run us through the players.
There it is, Prometheus, Tafe, Semide, Pires, and Mac Games, and it is running with Tafe again, not the other jungler. They had an interesting showing.
Yes, they have so far. This was the two Div 2 players from the LPLOL coming together to try and put up a competitive fight. And I emphasize try because they have looked competitive in their games so far, but the issue is they haven't been able to get over the line. And I would say this time around, when they were playing against Braves, well, they were definitely the victims of some style picks, like the, well, let's take a look at that Spanish roster and we could go through some of it. Things like the Blind Cogmore coming out.
Yeah, weaker playing the Blind Cogmore there, but we'll go through the team names: Acania, Nacho, Cayetano, Weaker, and Cartemenio. In total, this team has done very, very well, and in fact, given current standings within the group, if I'm not mistaken, they locked top 2 with a win here.
And that is going to be super important because when we're looking over at the other side, it's like, okay, you know, we've got good competition between the top two teams. This time around, though, you've got Kit in your group, right? You need to be looking competitive to have any chance at really taking them down. But we saw they started to falter a little bit at the beginning of the day. So we'll have to find out how they face. And if we see really good form from Braves from this game, maybe we finish the day and suddenly there's two teams at 7-1 in the group if we're ever so lucky for the standings, to say the least. But as we look through this roster, very weird picks, I will say. I'm a bit hesitant when I say that. Akanya, first player we saw get the better end of Gentleman Hero, playing that Poppy into Gwen matchup to extreme proficiency. And I feel like, considering, if we talk about the champions they've played so far, likely to see something similar.
Yeah, Akanya has only played Gnar and Poppy so far, but we know that Akanya is proficient on Fiora, was hovering it a little bit the last time that they matched up, so that's always in the back pocket, another one of those Fiora players in the tournament. But yes, it is the unusual bot picks from Weaker, the Vigar, the Seraphine, the Cogmore, these things, and Seraphine in general for this team, 3 players, you're able to flex it to 3 lanes, and the one time that a team left it open, it was immediately picked and Cayetano looked massive on it.
You can't let a champion through like that. At the end of the day, I know there's meta priorities, but when there's 3 people flexing a champion to extreme proficiency, and Karma has looked so strong in this tournament, at least for picks, and Seraphine is just that, but these players play it more, like, come on, it should be a no-brainer. Don't let it through, as I expect that'll be the case when we hop over to the picks and bans for these players to get rid of that Seraphine. Again, taking a quick recap through what was banned out last time in the first rotation, it was Gwen, Jinx, and Trundle prioritized on the bans by Braves, and then on the other side, it was the Zeri, Fiora, and the Seraphine, as expected for the Seraphine part of it. Fiora, again, a bit of respect. And then that Zeri, we're still, again, patch 12.5, not on the B patch, don't need to say it every time, but I will keep doing it to make sure everybody's in the loop. ADCs are still pretty much standard for what you would have seen for the entirety of the split for pro play of Jinx, Zeri, Aphelios. Jinx, Zeri, Aphelios, and then Cogmore if you're weaker.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, maybe we'll see some of the other AP bots coming through, and this is in part due to the fact that you have a relatively heavy AD top side between Nacho and Akanya, because if you look at Nacho's champ pool, Zed, Diego, Graves, Lee, Hecarim, that's all AD.
It's a lot of AD, and we'll need to see what actually makes its way through, because Braves, looking like the second strongest team in the group. If they have a dominant performance here, maybe we can start to ask questions with how Kit performed. They did just beat IST. If we're being honest, I'm actually going to quickly double check their game time, because Kit were going for the any percent speed run of every game below something like 22 minutes. But their first game was actually quite long. It took 28, and yeah, okay. IST put up a 35-minute game performance against Kit, which, regardless of what actually happened in the game, making them wait that long is extremely impressive for the team that absolutely slaughtered day one.
Yeah, 22-minute speed run last time on average, and this time looking very, very different. 27 and 32 is a long shot away from that time beforehand. So we get the first 2 bans as Corki and Gwen, the scaling AP pick.
And one thing I'm going to note is these two teams are banning very slowly, which obviously you're halfway through the day now. You have got 4 games each to play overall, so you do want to make sure that you're taking your time to prep each of the teams. But every team seems to have done a good bit of prep playing against Kit, because the fact that they are making this team struggle is extremely impressive. I'm super excited to find out how Braves fare against them, because it was the closest performance we had last time around. I know that it doesn't differentiate by much on the scale of things, but now the question is, how much time could you dedicate to researching Kit, also the rest of the competition?
That is it. But right now, as far as I can tell, you've kind of got to unlock the Corki and the Seraphine bans. They're completely targeting Al Cayetano's champ pool, and that's a very good thing to do, because if you look at the solo queue play rate, you're looking at 100 plus games of Seraphine and a similar amount of Corki.
And we see all 3 Powerpuff Girls banned away, followed up by Fiora now taken off the table. Akanya's looking like they're going to be headed towards Nara Poppy in most circumstances here. I have to find out what actually comes out in this first pick, because with all these, not exactly true meta, I would say they're all basically meta picks, but also with that Seraphine throwing it off. Jinx now removed. Hecarim, not super high priority for these teams. The Volibear is a much bigger pick for me, because Prometheus has it for the top lane as well as in the jungle as a flex to TAFE. Karma, we obviously talked about it every time. Come on, alright. Sure. Go with the
Yep,
stats
I
again
mean,
if you want to.
you've seen it 3 times today now. He is the most picked champion in the tournament, but kind of expected so far. Not actually won a game today, but we'll see
No,
if that
true.
changes. So the win rate is actually hovering at around about 50%-ish, if I remember correctly. So depends on which team gets it.
So another pick that is still open, obviously we talked about that Volibear, but Xin Zhao was banned away in the previous game, and considering that Hecarim isn't the super high priority champion for both of these teams, I'm very curious to see if either of them will go towards that. I'm not going to talk about hovers. We don't talk about hovers when we have a player like Wika on the team who will lock in what apparently is any champion whatsoever and take it in the bot lane. So we will just get that Vigar coming out again.
Let's just preface this. This is a flex between mid and bot. So if that does end up going down the weaker, we will see in due course. And hopefully IST have prepared for this and will draft accordingly.
Ezreal.
See is where they want to put their karma.
You should lock in Ezreal here if you want to send that Karma bot lane. Or even if you don't have to send the Karma bot. But if you don't want to be playing bot as strong side, it makes the most sense. We saw last time, actually we have Braves on stream, I think it was against Kit, because they definitely got dominated. It might have actually been IST playing the Vigar bot lane against Kit, but what I do remember for certain is that it got absolutely obliterated because the Ezreal could just jump on out of the Vigar cage each time. It was played with Vigar Yuumi in the bottom lane, and it didn't end up getting off its feet in the early. As we see right now, Braves, a lot of AP so far. Ooh, okay!
What world is that?
That is unique, and I love it, because if you send Vigar bot lane, Sivir doesn't need to dash out of the thing. She could just walk right through the wall.
This is true. And, I mean, it's the hard read on Vigar being in the bot specifically here, but even in general, if you ever get caught out as a Sivir into the cage, yeah, you can just get out of it if it does end up going to Cayetano, and that will be the Alistair lock-in for Cardominio as well as we go to the second ban phase. Anything particular you'd like to see?
As far as it goes, we've got pretty much what we assume to be both bot lanes and jungler locked in, so I'm very curious to see how much respect IST pay to Akanya's champion pool of that Poppy now, because you have the option to get rid of both of them right now, and I think that is the right way to go, considering that Vigar is a flex at the end of the day. We expect it to go bot because of who Weaker is, but it doesn't have to, especially now you've shown such a good answer in the form of that Sivir. Counter-attack, I know I said but like 4 times in that sentence, but it's just how draft goes. People are playing it smart. The Alistair, extremely good into the Sivir because their combo is 2 respective abilities. Sivir can't spell shield them both, and the best part is, Alistair can then bump people into the Vigar cage in the bottom lane.
Yeah, that is something you're capable of doing, the extra displacement there from Alistair. See if Cardominio manages to get any creative angles off with that one. But we're looking at some topside bans towards Akanya, which is relatively tame, assuming that this Volibear does go into jungle, of course, as Akanya is able to play the bear topside if he does so wish. But we pan it back to IST, I think I'm interested in what Semide has to play, because this is the key player. He has been massive in their one win, and in their losses, kind of just not been there.
And the thing is, when we're looking at how this comp really needs to come together, looking across the board, there has to be AD somewhere, Braves, because otherwise you can just lock in some hearty tanks on your own side. I would say that actually potentially something like the Malphite is already looking really good because you're against a Vigar and you can just point blank engage on them in any fight regardless of which role they're in. We'll have to find out now if the Poppy actually banned away. Will Braves leave Akanya out to dry and make them blind pick the Gnar? Or are they going to pick something AD mid, which innately is counter-pickable? Or, I'll say it one more time, are they going to flex Vigar back to mid?
Well, there's the Gnar, one of 2 champions Akanya has played this entire tournament, so it's continuing to be that way between the Poppy and the Gnar once more. As I mean, this game, the Fiora and the Poppy is banned, so I'm really not too surprised if this one comes through. Relatively safe pick there.
That's kind of dirty. There are. Yeah, okay, no, this is a Sylas.
That's actually really good.
Oh my god, that is... Yeah, normally... I haven't seen Sylas all too much recently, but my sense was tingling as soon as the hover came out, because you see Alistair, Sylas is immediately brilliant, because you can steal that hyper-value ultimate. Vigar, also great, with that execute property, does great for Sylas, even though he isn't going to be raw stacking AP. Volibear, also great, because it's got an insane amount of base damage, and just overall is fine for Sylas. And then Gnar as well, one of the most iconic ultimates for Sylas to steal, because he can use it better than the original.
If there's anyone you want, it is your mid laner for IST. This is the guy where you need to be working with to make these plays, because it was that Cassident, even in the losses, yes, wasn't maybe the most impactful, definitely kept IST alive, and in their win was their win con.
You want Cayetano. I don't think it's amazing for the Lucian, but it was almost necessary, right? Because when you have committed to keeping this Veigar bot lane, you need AD on the team. Because even the Gnar, while it does do a lot of physical damage in isolation, the hyper procs are the main DPS of this champ, and that's magic at the end of the day. So it doesn't help you across the board, as we do have a very squishy comp from IST. I will give them that for certain, as we do have... I'm waiting. You will put that Sylas mid. Don't... You will put that Sylas mid. Thank you.
There it is.
I was scared. It was getting a bit too close to the timer that I was like, this is either a draft issue or shenanigans of the highest order.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just time for Perez to become a mid laner for one game instead. You never know. Just better at Sylas.
I feel like maybe that's the case, but I don't want it as far as it goes. All these players obviously winning their respective leagues to be here, as we are looking at both of these full drafts now. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting to see a Sivir today. I think that this... I mean, whilst the bot matchup seems interesting, and you have, you know, Sivir versus Veigar, that's not something you see every day, but Sivir just kind of walks out the cage, so it's probably a mid-discussion.
I think it makes a lot of sense having that Sivir into the Veigar, but then the follow-up of the Alistar really starts to pivot it. And the Nautilus, I can't say I'm a support expert, so I don't know how the Nautilus into Alistar matchup is supposed to go. I know that you can throw out the hook as he goes for the headbutt, and if it's going on to you, you can interrupt. So that part makes a lot of sense for me. Obviously, the ultimate also very good for chasing down the Veigar with that depth charge. I like it in concept, but at the end of the day, you could also be disengaged quite easily by the Alistar Veigar, and if you ever do go for a bad hook or you hit a wall, then Alistar knock up, Veigar put down cage, headbutt into it, die, is the formula I'm expecting to see if any plays go poorly for IST in this lane.
So we go straight on to the Rift, and it is important to see which I was going to mention. Is it going to be attack speed Sivir, or is it going to be lethality? It will be attack speed this game, as that's a lethal tempo coming through for Perez, which I would say is probably the correct decision into this team. I don't think your lethality is going to get too much value into the top side.
Well, you already have the Karma in the top lane, right? So you want to be encouraging that kind of run with me comp. You have the Sylas and Viego, amazing divers across the board. Sivir, notorious back when she was super meta for the longest time, as one of the best ADCs to be paired with divers, because with that ultimate, and also with Karma, you can just run it down mid in the best way possible, and there is no way the enemy team could escape you, except a Veigar cage is going to be a pretty big nuisance for them.
And we could playing it with the Predator, as we've been seeing a lot more recently with Veigars, to get that extra move speed to be in the position for a cage. Both teams starting around the top side, going to path into bot, nothing out of the ordinary, and the river there is warded up for the Braves.
Going to expect relatively passive laning across the board. Level 2 is when Kartaminu could look for something on this Alistar, but at the end of the day, Veigar is not renowned for their early game priority. It's definitely a champion that wants to super scale. If they are given time alone, they will become a monster. Once they have the level 6 with Predator, they become pretty annoying. Once they have the Everfrost, though, is where this game really comes online. And it's also where I'm going to be a little bit worried for Perez, because when you think about it, the reason Sivir was so good was because she could avoid all this point-and-click CC stuff. But with Everfrost in the game, you can actually lose your spell shield before you get out of the Veigar cage in some of these interactions. So I'm going to be very much keeping my eye on her during these team fights.
Certainly have to make sure that you're not pressing it at the wrong times, or else it could get you killed in the end. One of the best parts about Sivir is the safety that the spell shield provides, and to be honest, nowadays you kind of just pick her for her W and her R. So there it is. But the R does pretty well with the Viego and the Sylas, so we'll see how that goes.
I'm noticing that in the mid lane, Semide has gone for the Ignite, fine, but they've also gone for the Dark Sealed refillable potion, which means if Tafe or Mac Games is not coming to this mid lane, ASAP, this is going to suck for them, because Cayetano could just get complete control over the mid lane on this Lucian, get priority, bounce the way back, and look for a freeze if they want, and the Sylas will have no sustain, no TP to get back to the lane, and really just becomes a sitting duck.
Bearing in mind that Silas's early lane phase is really bad because his early mana cost very, very high, doesn't have the regen, so until you get a hold of a lost chapter, you're stuck in lane pretty much and not able to really do anything. And into a Lucian who's a lane bully, especially this early on, into a melee champion, yeah, you really just don't get to play the game.
And silver lining is going to be the fact that that ward from this early bot pro does spot out Nasho, so you know where they're going to be. Shouldn't end up getting dived by this or anything too out of the ordinary. But now, we shift our priority up to the top side for a brief moment as Prometheus, piloting this Karma, is likely to become the subject of a gank. If Okanya can freeze this wave in front of their tower, it becomes a very awkward spot, because Karma, very good when they are on the front foot, but if they're ever put behind, kind of like how poke comps function, you just fall apart.
Don't have the damage, don't have the values there to keep your team alive. Nasher here, however, in the mid lane, may be looking for something onto Semite. He has no mana whatsoever, no biscuits either to be able to make that happen there. Half health, it's definitely possible.
It is, but you need to be so clean with this, because if it goes wrong, he has Ignite.
There's the flash, there's the stun, there's the first blood, goes straight over to Lucian. Very cleanly executed.
Exactly what you need, and it is that ease of execution right there. When you have things like the Volibear, the point-and-click CC, I mean, the Alistair, even the Nautilus, like, this game has a lot of those tools that if you step out of position, you die just because of how easy it is to collapse, and with amazing follow-up across the board as well.
Yeah, man, this is just partly the problem of having such a weak early lane phase on the Sylas. Going for Conqueror, not going for Fleet build, going for the Ignite, very greedy from Semite here, and it ends up paying in favour of the Braves.
So the question is, can they actually leverage this greedy start by getting out of the lane? Oh, that was tragic to watch. Both of the recalls
so
going
close.
Off. Brain perfect is going to be enough that they'll still be able to push out the wave on this Sivir. They're fine. Gonna be the tier and the shoes picked up now from Weaker on this Vigar, so they are going to start their scaling barrage from now. And this is the point where they can start to exert some form of pressure. I would imagine it goes on to Mac Games, because out of the two, they're a lot more susceptible. But it has to be said that both of these ADCs, I say in air quotes, have TP. So if the supports get caught out, they can't be helped by the heal anymore.
No. Although I will say I don't expect too much like innate fighting and skirmishing between these bot sides, as both of them kind of just want to sit here, get the minions, and then wait for other fights to go down, because neither of them are particularly aggressive, but who knows when the ultimates come through and if there's an angle or a jungler in the bot side.
Got the TPs traded on the bottom lane by the, I'll say, bot laners from now on, just to get the wave cleared down. You know that the the dragon is being started up by Nasho. You have the flash from Tafe. You have this Div 2 player walking around the corner, as they should be able to secure this, or at very least keep it away from the opposition. It is a Hex Dragon, though, which means that it does a lot of damage when you're all clumped together. Predator active.
Coming in from both sides, it's a 4v4. Unleashed Teleport is not available just yet. Depends on exactly what happens. But Tafe is just going to get caught out immediately. Cayetano just kills him. But likewise, the other jungler gets killed too. Now let's see if Braves can make anything happen. Flash forward, light slinger, Cayetano with the damage. This is the guy that got the first blood. He's got the money on the team, but neither are dead just yet. Weaker should get that one. I don't see it yet. There it is.
Okay, I think... will Mac Games be able to execute? No, they're going to turn back and hope that they deceive their opposition. Tower shot.
Oh, wait, hold on.
They could keep this going for a long time. They will die, I think, because of Okanya coming down. Oh, that was close. That was very close.
Well,
okay.
Cayetano just got a lot of solo XP and a lot of gold.
Yeah, and it was already bad for Semite in the mid lane. It is gone from bad to, oh god, get me out, because there is really not much this Sylas could do in the lane. They have the Ignite, and they have the Vigar roll. So going for a hyper-aggressive trade before the Lucian backs is probably the best thing for it, because that Vigar roll will time out. It is an execute at the end of the day, but not even going to be given the chance. Cayetano with the teleport. I like this from Mac Games. This is needed. You need to be looking around the mid and hoping you could try and punish the Lucian right now, because if you get that shutdown, then amazing. You can turn this matchup back on its head. If you don't, well, pretend you don't have a mid lane for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Especially with Silas, does take a little bit of time before he can properly get online and make an impact in fights. Kanya going for the Gnar, straight to the wall, stunning Prometheus up, but does not have lethal.
Way too many minions right there for Prometheus to get any kind of a trade back down. And we see that Okanya actually taking the cull in this lane matchup, just very, I'm going to say, understanding. They're confident on this pick, as we know it is one of the only two they have played so far in the tournament, and they are showing why. They are just getting a steady CS lead, going to have that massive teamfight ultimate. Okay, goodbye.
Another one.
Oh no. Let's not start counting them, because I feel like we really could at this point. Something about mid lane ADCs getting super fed. Maybe. One more game it happens and we start to call it a trend. Saw it from Sora's Tristana. Now we're getting it from Curtana's Lucian, as they are just completely dominating the lane. A Lucian from ahead. It's been a little while since we've seen it in the mid lane, but it really doesn't get worse from here.
Oh no. I mean, already 2 plates, 30 CSD at 9 minutes. It's a bit grim.
Okay, so let's talk about comeback tools, and this is a really good time for it, because obviously you'd want to be looking for some respite, and you do have it if you are IST. When you have a Sivir, it's been a little while, but she is an exceptionally good person for wave clear, and in fact, I would actually be okay with, and I know if you were watching the last time we were on stream, you might find this shocking, I'd be okay with seeing a hull break coming out from Okanya, because you can really shut down a lot of the push potential.
The IST trying to get something back on the hunt, coming through to give the move speed for the chase. Weaker taking down very low, but the ultimate comes through. Perez is actually going to be the one to be killed here. But Tafe is here to be able to pick up Cardomenio, so at least it is traded.
And there is the second comeback tool in action. You have a Viego. Doesn't matter how fed they are, if they die once, that is in your pocket.
This might be a bit overzealous from Cayetano here. Actually, I don't think he has the damage. He gets shut down and it goes over to the Nautilus, unfortunately. But it is a shutdown.
I love a good demonstration right there. Exactly what happens. We didn't get to see the Lucian do anything in Viego form, but we do get to see how direly this game can turn on its head. As now, Semide with that Volibear ultimate, I would say they would like to look bot lane to make a play, but we just saw the hunt used by Sivir, and a little bit scary right here, as Semide walking very aggressively, but there is an Alistair in his midst.
Yeah, around the back. I mean, you have Volibear ult, maybe trying to bait that one in. You also don't have any mana on Silas, but with level up, going to regen a little bit from the Lost Chapter. Very important item there for Silas, actually allows him to play the game a little bit more early on, but Cayetano still have a massive advantage.
Both the supports lurking around mid, because the Rift Herald is about to be started, but the issue is no teleport for Semide. If you don't get a kill right here, then you pretty much lose all priority around that Herald as... Oh, Cartomania, this is really nice. Just lurking, completely zoning them off with merely your presence. And then the bot lane, both carries have TP, and Weaker is winning this bot lane fight. Oh. Okay. That was about expected. We didn't see it. We didn't need to see it. We were calling it as, oh my god, what is happening?
Well... Weaker also gets one. So, you win on the entire map.
I was watching the mini-map, and I saw Weaker walk to the left side of the turret, walk back, both ADC, or both carries use flash immediately, and then it's just a dead Sivir. So, you know what? Really pushing forward with this Veigar. We need to see more, I'm not going to say passivity, but we need to see a grouped up fight from IST to try and get something on as Okanya. There's the Hull Breaker. Excellent this game. Karma will never be able to kill those minions. Sivir will struggle to shred through them. Hold on a moment. This is dangerous, to say the least.
This. If you overextend here, you might be giving them a lot of free money.
Should get the charge. Which means that suddenly Matt Games may be in a bad spot.
He might be now. Depth charge goes on to Cayetano to buy some time, but there's the culling and there's the bear coming through. Bear with the Stormbringer and then the snap. Well, okay, the Alistair picked it up there, and I think that was with the Ignite. But in the end, you get the tower and you get a kill.
So, a little interaction I will talk about with the Lucian plus Alistair is that Alistair does actually still have that heal on his passive every time he uses 7 abilities / minions die, whichever comes up first. If you actually proc that around Lucian, you enhance their autos. Hold on a minute.
I think Weaker might just have enough damage to be able to kill Perez.
Oh, it's close.
Right, but it's really damn close. They end up trading, but the shutdown is in Puris' advantage there. A lot more gold in the pocket of that AD carry.
Alright, Tafe, this is a bit dangerous. As a no-ult Volley Bear and an altered Alistair still available, you can look for something, but you won't ever kill them is the issue.
Yeah, the damage isn't there, unfortunately. Just gonna back off, Drake spawning in a minute.
Should be everybody coming back to normalcy for a few moments, but when it comes to this dragon, massively in the Braves' favour. You already have the Gale Force on mid lane, top lane, just, I'm not going to say domination, but just a casual CS lead. That's about what we get. Yeah. Even with Hullbreaker, Gnar can still offer a massive amount to these fights. And I would say that this game, you don't want to be looking for the big team fights, because the best side laner the enemy team has is the Sylas. He's behind. You have amazing side laners in the Lucian and the Gnar. So if you can just keep the IST comp split up, you have an astounding 1-3-1. Veigar, brilliant engage on the 3-person clump when they are left alone in mid. Amazing follow-up CC. Like, honestly, I have to commend Braves' comp here. I know we weren't doing it as much earlier because I like the answers back and forth. But overall, I would say that Braves definitely come out on top so far in the draft, and they are executing it very well.
Yeah, and you have to feel that part of this was the greed from IST here to pick the rune setup that they did on the Sylas, and it's kind of just opened up a little bit of a hole.
It definitely didn't help. It wasn't the reason that they are behind, but it definitely stopped them having an avenue back into it as Akanya. Very strong on their own.
Yeah, the Hullbreaker MR and Armor him might be enough to get him out here. We'll still flash, just to be sure.
And, Dragon. This is Tafe's play that they have to make to try and match the fact that Dragon will go down the other side. But guess what? That's a 2-level up on you, Gnar. Flash committed from Tafe, but will not get the chase down just yet.
Alright, still looking for it. There's the Heartbreaker, and that is the kill to Tafe. You do manage to win out on this, but is it really enough? Because I think Braves are looking for something on the bot side, as On the Hunt gets proc.
Oh, hold on. Can Perez get the DPS? They do have the Essence Reaver.
Oh, the flash through. Cartamini just completely zoning off the damage from IST
so
here. And doesn't really get to play the game. That's a double kill for Weaker. And now you have 2 very fed carries for Braves.
You actually get the bounty tower in the top lane. I hadn't even noticed that bounties had come online, but it makes complete sense with this game state, and it's only going to get worse from here. Cayetano dominating the mid lane. And when we were talking about the 1-3-1 of this comp for the Braves, the side lane towers are easy, because whichever lane you put Akanya in will eventually lose the turret just because of this Hullbreaker, and Cayetano is so far ahead that they could just kill anybody that's sent to match them. Mid lane is your really difficult area to break open, because Sivir would be there clearing the waves from here on. You've already killed both of the towers in mid, so frankly all you have to do is just wait until Baron, keep getting your dragon stacking going, and this game just completely falls into your hands.
Yeah, and I have nothing else to say, but currently just good execution from Braves right now. It's just whether IST can find those angles to come back into this one. And they have the tools. Zemi just needs a lot of time and a lot of gold to be able to get back in the game. You have a Viego as well. Good Sylas options, so it's possible.
And you need it, because remember, for everybody watching at home, Braves will lock playoffs, or at least lock last chance qualifier, sorry. They will at least get minimum second place if they win this game, which means the IST will be out, all the other teams in this group will be effectively eliminated if your name is not Kit or Braves.
This pick onto Akanya might be exactly what they need. That's a lot of extra gold, and that's going to the ADC. Nice.
Nice indeed. IST, I believe my mental maths is correct, the only team that has a chance of taking Braves' spot. This is pretty much your head-to-head. While you still have much more to do after the fact if you are to make it out, this is your do-or-die moment for IST. If you do not win here, then you are gone, and Braves will take it away. The pressure that will build on you, build on both teams, honestly. I don't know if Braves have necessarily clocked it yet, because when you are ahead, you're always in the mindset of just keep winning. All we have to do is just keep the atmosphere good, keep winning, and it doesn't matter. We'll win all our games. They want to be fighting off against Kit again and look good. That is the real thing that Braves want. But from what we've seen so far, IST, they haven't been able to get it going just yet.
But there's a lot of damage that might just be about to come through from the Braves, but instead Nasho is going to have to pop the stopwatch, and eventually, oh no, Stormbringer keeping him alive for the time moment. I almost signed him a death warrant once again, but manages to get out with the extra health and a kill onto the Nautilus. Just too much gold at this point, and weaker. Yep, there it is, the Vigar, another one with Cayetano's extra damage going onto the backline. You're just too far ahead at this point.
Absolute lunatic is Cayetano in these fights. They are going off every single time. Between them and Weaker, you could see it in the scoreboard. At the end of the day, it is just the Alistair Lucian show. Oh, no. This is a bit overzealous, my friend.
Okay.
That's
You're
the couple
ahead,
you need.
but you're not that ahead.
That's what you need for IST. You need more plays like that, where it is just overconfidence to the maximum. And the thing is, if we take a look at the game state right now, massive gold leads, massive dragon leads so far. Rift Herald, it looks like it will be secured, which is even worse, because the biggest issue you could say is that without Baron, it's actually quite difficult to break open the base, because of this Sivir and the fact they can rotate around. If this Rift Herald dies, then that's pretty much the tower gone. You'll be able to just open the base whenever you want. Speaking of that Sivir, they're gone.
Okay, well, Rift Herald will be down shortly. And it's a matter of time right now. So, Braves looking into pushing the base, get pressure, utilize the whole breaker in the side lane. And then it's IST, need to look for picks, need to look for opportunities, need to look for plays, potentially, from the Braves to capitalize on.
And the thing is, we had 3 people chasing down Akanya on this Gnar in the side lane while that Rift Herald was being taken by Nasho, and it didn't get anything done. You didn't blow a summoner, you didn't get the Mega Gnar ult. It really was just a lot of members sitting up there, but the gold is way too much. Oh gosh.
Flashes away, Cage goes down. I think there's a bit too much damage here from the collective trio, and that will be the kill donated over the ball.
They're actually just looking for towers instead of the dragons, knowing that if you break open the base right now with that Rift Herald, that is all you need. This is Vigar at its epitome. So obnoxious. Hold on.
Oh, well, I think there's too much damage going on to the Lucian. Also, Tafe managing to get out there, the headbutt him. Actually, and the Lucian damage with the Heartbreaker was not quite enough as the Volibear get there in time. But Silas managing to get 1 kill in return here. Now 2 down.
It was 2 down.
It's
It
not
was
enough.
2 of shutdown. I think gold-wise, that's actually close to even. Thing is, though, Braves get the tier 2 tower top lane in the process of that, so it's probably exactly even, actually, for gold. With losing the dragon, though, I'm not going to say worth, but at least they're still fighting. That's what we need to see from IST.
That is it. You see that it is possible. It is possible to kill these Fed members of Braves. They are still squishy, they just do a lot of damage, although the bear, not so much. Gonna Stormbringer and kill Prometheus here, and going for Mac Games as well. I don't think he can get that one, but
I preferred Alien too, Nasher, don't worry. As now, gonna be looking, take that dragon, put him at soul point. Don't think the soul is really gonna be the win. Please not the second bush. Oh my goodness.
Well, here we are again.
The collapse can happen though. They got Viego
although-
Silas to steal your ults.
I can't see what's going on, but as I pan back, Nasho is popping. The Zonya is now complete. Semite going in. Stormbringer be able to get the kill. Viego gets the reset, the all-important reset, but Cayetano just does way too much damage. Gale Force forward, and that is just over.
Wait a minute, hold on. I saw Tafe as Volibear get the stun, and I was like, this is it. They've got the pop-up moment. And then just Cayetano killed them before they did anything. Oh. Wow.
14-2-4.
All right. This is easily an MVP performance from Cayetano. Clearly, ADC's mid are the next evolution of this tournament because, man, every time we have got it, it has succeeded tenfold.
I think a pair of a calm would actually be quite good here with the extra enhancement. You never know. They are on 3 Drakes. That is sole point right now. 1 inhibitor due course to be pushed down. The turret is now gone, so that is relatively open in the bot side. If they win a fight, they should be able to win through there. And IST really do need a miracle fight at this point.
Let's see if they can look for anything, because there's not much more we could say from that we haven't already said.
No.
It is just about watching the map, and seeing what they do. The thing is, all of the action just occurs in the bottom left hand of the minimap now, so it's just watching those little red dots and seeing the first person to step up, because if you don't go as a full team, everybody on your squad is susceptible. Something I will say, though, is that the Rift Herald is still in Nasho's inventory. Time is up. They want to take it, but they don't have Cayetano. They will not do this quick, and I actually worry that they may just let the Herald run out in inventory if they don't throw it down here. Yeah, I think they've realized they need to place it.
No, wait.
There you go.
Has that gone down? I think that's gone down.
Yeah, they summoned it. Okay. Alright.
Right at the Baron, though. I mean, this is one of the most obvious takes in the game, but I'm not sure how much IST can do about it. Kanya there on the side, zoning off the members.
The cage is going to be so big here. Oh, the catches one, but the on Baron. Not dead
Kanya's
yet.
Already dead. Nasho has to get the Baron, so now Cartameno has to take all of the damage here, as an Alistair is very capable of doing it. It's just whether Weaker and Cayetano can do the damage, and yes they can. This Lucian just tearing through every member of IST. That's a triple kill for Nasho, picking up the kills, and that's the game.
That should be it. Where is the Herald? They're going to be top lane. Let's see if we can get a dancing one for this game, as that will be Braves effectively locking themselves in for last chance qualifier minimum. It means that now the only challenge left is if they can try and rival Kit, make their way into that first place spot and actually get away with coming out as the first seed in this group.
Well, we can
Commiserations to IST. I don't know, it's close respawns.
Dancing Herald, I think we got it. Right.
Oh,
no,
got him.
just about. Right at the end, sad to see it, but at the same time also sad for IST. Commiserations, unable to make it. I'm fairly certain that's the entire group decided now at this point, with Braves locking that one in. And, well, congratulations.
You'll still be fighting for pride. You've got plenty more games to go for this group. It will be the last time we'll be seeing them on stream for the day. My MVP is very handedly going to be Cayetano on that Lucian. Admittedly, it was another one of those situations, kind of like when we had the Tristana mid, actually, where the lead was handed to them, but you still need to handle it safely. No greedy deaths, I wouldn't say, from the Lucian. Maybe that one, I would say, actually. They're one.
Yeah.
Every ADC mid gets one, because if you died again later, then, well, we saw what happened. The one time Tafe did get to take that form in a skirmish, it was pretty close to DPSing down the Alistair, which would have turned into the snowball effect, and we all know what Viego could do in those kind of fights. Amazingly, though, Braves taking that one, secured. Whew.
Well, with Kit's performance today, we'll see. An upset could ever happen between the two of them, because that was very clean from the Braves. And Kit, as you mentioned, went to, what was it, 37, 35 minutes or something like that? And
something along those lines against
27,
ISP,
28 for the first game. So, not necessarily the strongest form that we've seen Kit on, and it looks pretty good from the Braves. So, maybe we'll see what happens with the end of our group. Those standings will come out in due course, but looking very good in general for general competition.
And the thing is, if you are the Braves right now, you've secured at least last chance qualifier, but you want to be speed running these games. Kit had the right idea coming in initially, because that is our tiebreaker for if you have two teams tied for the same spot, then it will go down to the amount of game time, average game time in a win. As now, let's see how Braves were able to walk that one home and try and rival the any percent speed run that Kit was going for in week 1.
Yeah, there it is. Replays will come through just momentarily as we get everything sorted up.
Oof, that was a game. Braves, they definitely are very good showmen. As let's take a look at how this one played off. This is your MVP in the mid lane, starting off so cleanly with Nasho on the volley bet, really showing the power of this pick, because the flash stun, that's it.
Yeah,
as
the immediate flash.
That's all right. Make sure that you get your latest animal skins, by the way, everybody. That pass is now available.
I mean, they changed the gemstones now, so it's all mythic essence.
I got plenty of mythic essence. I had gemstones stored up because I did not like any of the gemstone skins that were available. And now I'm just sat there like, what is this conversion rate? Prestige skins for 150? Ridiculous.
It's quite a lot. But now I have to save these up a lot more. I mean, I had a few saved up still when I started hearing about
Did you
changes.
see the Pike skin?
It's really nice.
It's really good. I have projects, so I don't want to get it, but it is really, really good. And they
perfectly
capitalize on Elden Ring. That's what they did there. It's good, clever stuff.
I know someone who is basically a Pike one trick and has been exclusively playing Pike, even in mid lane, of course, and with the new skin and everything, getting the emote and so on and so forth, all on board with it.
So, let's tie it back together. Congratulations, Braves. Commiserations to IST and the rest of the teams in Group B. We'll get to find out and keep you posted as best we can what the progress of Braves versus Kit is for that first place in the group. After our break, we will be rejoining you, covering Group A again to completion. Very excited to see what will happen over there, and if we get as much drama between the top two, because little birdie told me that potentially Uludag has maybe dropped a game, which is not going to enable them to be keeping up that same kind of record to meet the Bobcats in that 6-0 place. Very exciting, though, to see those two match up, because that was such an amazing game. That actually kicked off the weekend for us last time. We didn't realize this would be 1 versus 2.
And then it's going to end it later as well. Yep, we're just going to throw it to break again, once again. Twitch Student and Intel are powering them, so go and check them out indeed. And we will be back with you as soon as we can.